Gather round, freaks, because it's that time of year again. The time of year that one of your hosts subjects you to something guaranteed to bend your mind, body, and soul. It is with great pleasure that we extend to you an invitation to delve into the realms of extreme sports and theatrical magnificence. Prepare yourselves for an experience like no other, as Hey, Did You See This One? And Jason R. Phillips proudly presents Wrestling with Mortality!
That's right, freaks. We're back. We did it. I forgot to do my little intro for the first time in like 1,000 episodes. That's crazy.
I was wondering where it was.
Happy 1,000 episodes.
I got to it. I got to it quick. Welcome to Hey, Did You See This One? Episode 131, also known as Season 2, Episode 31. It is my birthday month again. I'm wearing my Sabu shirt because it is Wrestling with Mortality. I'm turning 39. I'm feeling old. I'm doing what I want to do. This week, we're talking about a little...
Same story we get every year on your birthday month. I'm doing what I want to do. I'm going to force you guys to watch shit.
Garbage. In the first year, I was all right. I made us watch every Trey Parker and Matt Stone movie. And in that block, we had Cannibal the Musical, which was a fabulous indie film. In the second year, we did Weird Al month. And two of those movies were good, and one was not. We did The Complete Al, which was very similar to this one. It was a mockumentary, sort of like the following Weird Al's career up to that point. And this year, we've hit the bottom of the barrel. We've hit rock bottom. We are doing a little film, a little Canadian flick, a little Canadian independent movie mockumentary called Kayfabe, a fake real movie about fake real sport, also known as Kayfabe. Work your gimmick.
I feel like Kayfabe would have been just fine.
Just fine.
Do we have to say the full title every time?
No. Yes, you have to say Kayfabe, work your gimmick. Yeah.
Okay.
A fake real movie about a fake real sport. And as you can see, probably my oldest friend, and the reason why I had him on this month is because he is also a bit of a wrestling fan, a bit of a lapsed fan at this point. But please welcome back to the show, Steve. Put your finger on the applause button for Jacob Hiltz. Jacob Hiltz, welcome back to the show. Jacob Hiltz. Jacob Hiltz, back to the show.
Thanks for having me. I didn't put my last name.
You can change that on the fly.
That's fine. All cap is good. Thanks for having me, fellas.
Oh, no problem.
See,
double applause.
Change it on the fly. This is a kind of a difficult one. We are a kind of a movie review roundtable discussion. Come hang out with us on Twitch for a few hours every Thursday night. This week, though, it's kind of a race to the bottom to see if we can fill the time about this one. We might be going home early. We might not. Just like a lot of the matches in this movie, there's a lot of stuff to cover. But then the last act of the movie is basically a truncated wrestling show, which I've done my best to sort of get some content out of. I believe, Steve, you were just watching this, trying to get it done.
Well, why do we get to that when we get to our brief?
Okay. Okay, we've introduced the guest. Whoa, shit. Also, I didn't bother doing the correct movie guesses this week. I felt like I didn't want the rejection.
Yeah, I put one in, so it was me. I'm the only one, and my message was,
congratulations, you have successfully guessed the correct answer, which is the answer you provided. Congratulations.
Wow. I said, watch Hey, Did You See This One every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That was my message. Just to watch the show that you were on the Tic Tac channel for.
Cool. Well, thank you for plugging us. I appreciate it.
Also, if you want to see me as Deanna Troy, I was on the Star Trek radio play of the on the United Federation of Podcasts on Sunday. I'm sure the episode will be up soon. It was very weird, and I'm a very creepy Troy.
They do keep asking you to do those radio plays.
Hey, I did a great job as the Blob. We'll say that.
Where's my invitation? I can't just be bystander that goes, "Whoa, it's me, bystander Jason Phillips on the fucking road here. I'm walking here."
Would you sacrifice 2.5 hours of your Sunday night to sit there waiting for your one line to be like, "Excuse me, Captain Picard"?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'll let them know. I'll let them know that you...
At any rate, as Steve said, you can watch all the United Federation podcasts. I'll run those down at the end of the show. You can find us. This is your call to action in 3D. You can find us on all social media, basically at Hey, Did You See This One? We're the most active on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook. There's a Facebook group. And Instagram we post, and TikTok, I suppose we post the movie we're going to do every week. There is the fan guessing game that I mentioned earlier for real movies. That goes up every Monday and Tuesday. I take a bit of the poster and sort of zoom out. I didn't bother doing it this week, as I said, because, well, you'll find out why here in a minute. And then in addition to that, I'd like to give a shout out to White Bat Audio, who I use who we use each and every week for DMCA free audio in our pre-show, in our little 10-minute, hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome. Everybody get in here, all three of you, and watch and listen to the show. But at this time, we're going to move on. I'm going to do my Jake the Snake real quick. We're going to move on, and we're going to go forward. Put you in a choke. And you're going to
a snake
beg.
choke.
Snake choke. And you're going to beg for mercy. Diggy, 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 diggy. Trust me. This is our shit. Kane this Sunday at WrestleMania. Okay, that's enough of that. Sabu shirt. Let's talk about our brief histories.
A brief history.
That's right. It's that time of the week where we talk about our extremely long and storied histories with the film we're talking about that week. And the thing about that is, around here, it's a time-honored tradition to give our guests the first opportunity and to give their brief history for this film. So, Jacob, why don't you give us your incredibly long and storied history with this movie?
I heard about this movie for the first time when you asked me to be on this show. I watched it 2 days ago for the first time. Yeah, we'll talk about how we feel about it later, but
yeah,
I know, you're a wrestling fan. I haven't watched wrestling regularly in 20 years, honestly, but I still consider myself a wrestling nerd because I will watch every movie, every documentary, anything that comes up. I'm obsessed with the history and the people, but I haven't regularly watched wrestling probably since well before this movie came out. I know everything about the 90s and then it just kind of stops. But that's my brief history with the movie. I saw it 2 days ago. And so probably the same for you guys.
Pretty much. Last week we asked Tim Covey, guest of the show, fan of the show, what his favorite wrestler of all time was. And Steve had answered, Rey Mysterio. I think you mentioned Sting as well.
Sting. I was going to paint my face like Sting today for today's episode. I didn't have time.
Nice. We could have done the different varieties of Sting.
We could do the three different
Stings.
I would go with the green and gold or whatever.
Hell yeah.
Nope. Actually, green and gold, like Surfer Sting from the early 90s.
Yeah, Surfer Sting.
Yeah.
I would probably do Joker
Jason.
Sting. Yeah, I know.
Jason's red and black.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, thank you. I said basically a combination of like Stone Cold and The Rock and then like CM Punk. And I answered the question for 45 straight minutes. And
I could do that.
Jacob, yeah, you're going to be similar to me where you're going to be like, one wrestler. But since I'm going to just say I watched this movie literally today and probably same for Steve.
I thought about my answer throughout the week and I came up with a few more. If we do have that question again at the end, maybe I'll throw in a few other ones that had an impact on me in my childhood.
I wanted to turn this brief history into our favorite wrestler talk.
Oh.
If that's okay. If you want to wait, we can wait, but I'm asking Jacob now who his favorite wrestler of all time is.
Okay.
I mean, it's not honestly a long answer. I'm a huge Shawn Michaels guy. Always have been. I started watching wrestling. It was probably one of the first things I remember watching on TV. Like I seem to remember things that like I wasn't even online for in my brain. Like I don't remember anything else from that year, but I remember, Shawn Michaels getting super kicked through the Brutus the Barber Beefcake's window and being super sad about it. Because I love The Rock. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, definitely Shawn Michaels being sad when he retired to find his smile, all that stuff. I still have my T-shirt I bought when Raw was here in 1997. I bought Shawn Michaels had just won the world title for the first time. I should have put it on. Maybe I'll fire that on at the end. But I still have that T-shirt I bought in, at the Halifax Metro Center, seeing him. I went to Raw with my dad, and there's like kind of, I don't want to say famous, but there's a moment when Shawn Michaels is feuding with the Hart Foundation, and they're all Canadian or pretending to be Canadian. And they have the Canadian flag hanging from the ring, and Shawn Michaels sticks it up his nose and like runs around. And I was there with my dad, who is not and has never been a wrestling fan. And he was just like, "What the fuck is that guy doing?" That's like I took you to see wrestling, and they're putting the Canadian flag up his nose. I'm like, "No, that's my guy." And then I leave and
that's
buy
my guy, Dad.
Yeah,
that's like that's like the second or third Raw, possibly the first of D-Generation X. Like,
yeah,
it was basically started in Halifax.
Yeah,
you get suspended from school the next day for stuffing the Canadian flag up your nose.
Yeah, 100%. It was just cool because like in like montages you would see bits and pieces from Halifax, and it's like, hell yeah, I was there. So that's definitely my guy. And honestly, like I love Bret Hart, but I still hate him just because he feuded with Shawn Michaels so much. I can't drop that. But that's my answer. It's not even there's no real competition for me. That's my guy.
That fills in kind of a blank for me because my whole life I've always been a Shawn Michaels over Bret Hart guy. Yep. And I've always kind of wondered where that came from because I've been very influenced in wrestling by like my friends. Absolutely, it's because of you. It's got to be. Because whenever I tell people Shawn Michaels over Bret Hart, they're always like, yeah, but Bret Hart's Canadian. And I'm like, I don't care. Bret Hart's boring when he's a good guy and amazing when he's a bad guy, but he's usually a good guy. But shortly after that feud, he became a bad guy. And that was when Bret Hart was in a wheelchair and he was just being an asshole. Good stuff. And Steve, if you're wondering why the Hart Foundation, the Canadian faction was, people pretending to be Canadian, there was a British Bulldog and a very American Brian Pillman.
And I also want to say that's why I was never a huge Steve Austin fan. Because he kind of took Shawn Michaels out, like at WrestleMania 13, he was gone for a bit. And,
Well, The Undertaker took him out because in the casket match, he threw Shawn Michaels out and he hit the casket.
Yeah.
And that he like fucked his back up and he had to have a brief.
But I was the only one rooting for Shawn Michaels then, for sure. It is in my friend group when I was 12.
Right. Alienated by all of your Sting pals.
I watched that WrestleMania at a guy's house who had like a legal satellite dish. I won't name names on the podcast, but guy went to went to school with. It was great. Before there was streaming,
We all knew one person.
It was the guy's dad who
roles
was like,
in
"Hell
LA.
yeah, let's get the illegal dish hookup." So
The guy who figured out technology early.
yeah,
Cool. I find it very weird that within the same continent, they're like, well, let's pretend to be Canadian. Like, why not get some actual Canadians to do that? But, whatever.
they were all related to the Hearts, I guess. It was more like, so,
Also, the Hart Foundation sounds like a literal foundation of some kind.
It was.
Well, there is a Hart
whose last name was Hart.
Yeah, HIRT.
Did they donate money to like heart? Like
no,
like
just
congestive heart failure.
And what's more, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, his name it's Neidhart.
That's like he married one of the sisters.
Yeah,
the Anvil Foundation, where the
Roman was just there for some reason. No real relation that I remember. Yeah,
Brian Pillman was just a loose cannon who brandished a gun on fucking Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, and the story about how he got out of his WCW contract by tricking Eric Bischoff into giving him a release, and then it was a real release, and he just left. He was trying to do a gimmick release, but he's like, no, we got to make it look real. So then he just left, which is legendary.
And you can find out that information and more Dark Side of the Ring every week.
I've been actually the last week I've been doing voiceover work for a random YouTube channel that is all like the biggest body slams in wrestling, and this one was like called Shit Got Real or something like that, where it's all about like setups and like respecting the setup for a move in the ring, and like the biggest moments where wrestlers didn't respect the setup. I didn't know so much stuff would go on interpersonally between wrestlers. I thought it was all like scripted and everybody would respect the script. So I've been learning a lot in the last 2 weeks about wrestling.
That's great. That's perfect. It's Kismet. Yeah. WrestleMania was this past weekend. Steve's learning all about wrestling. We're talking about the worst wrestling movie possibly in existence. Before we move on from this segment, Steve, do you want to name some more of your favorite wrestlers?
I don't know if I would call them favorite, but they're definitely ones that like had a big impact on me. When I first started like really getting into wrestling, it was through a close friend of mine who I'm still friends with today. And he was pretty into it. And, he had a bunch of the video games, and he would get really excited when Goldberg would show up. And I don't know if he's a problematic figure now. He is? Okay. I'm like, maybe
not like sex racist, but
just
racism, he's an asshole and everyone hates him.
Okay, so he's just a jerk.
He basically retired like Bret Hart.
Yeah,
he
kicked Bret Hart's face off.
I think the reason I liked him though is because of like his body shape. Like he looked like a sturdy man.
I thought he was cool when he kind of first came in, but then the stories of how he was, it's like the Ultimate Warrior, you thought he was cool when you were a kid, and then you realize he's just kind of an asshole.
He was like a racist and a drug addict.
Yeah, sorry, don't come back to me, Bill Goldberg. I know you're watching.
Aesthetically, like Iron Man, like the Iron Man suit, how it's very sleek. But like the first, like the Mark I Iron Man suit, where it's like rounded but very bulky. He reminds me of that, like in the way he's shaped physically. So I think he was just aesthetically like pleasing to me as a kid. I was like, I like the way this guy's shaped. He looks like a strong man from a cartoon, like a cartoon circus man. And then another one was Kane, which I surprisingly know a lot about the lore of, and I didn't realize until I started talking to you one day, Jason. I was like, well, yeah, didn't Kane like survive a fire when he was a child or something? Yeah,
yes.
Look at him; he's all rounded. Yeah.
He survived the fire.
He's a human hot dog man. Kane's whole backstory, where he's like the brother of the Undertaker's brother who like died in a fire but didn't die in a fire, and that's why he wears a mask.
But he was also a dentist and fake Diesel.
Yeah,
he's basically like a Darth Vader, which is I think why I liked the whole. I was like, wait a minute, there's like crazy shit in this. I thought they were all just like, I'm the divorce lawyer. My whole gimmick is I'm a divorce lawyer.
Here's Kane.
Also somewhat problematic, I would argue, in his politics.
He's a turbo Republican.
Staunch Republican. I think he's a mayor. Is he a mayor?
He's the mayor of Knox Valley, Tennessee or some shit.
It's crazy how many wrestlers have become predominant like political figures in the world.
I'll tell you why they're Republicans specifically, because Republicans love not taxing the rich, and wrestlers are independent workers, so they want to hold on to as much of their money as possible. Right. So if they team up, that's kind of how they circumvent that, but it only works if you make millions and millions of dollars.
Well, let's not talk about American politics on the show.
Okay, that's
I got
true.
20 minutes on American politics.
Shit.
All related to wrestling. It all comes together at the end. Follow the money.
Okay. Yeah.
Follow the money.
And then
It's
you
a
start
money.
waving a fucking American flag at the end.
Stick it up my nose.
Ding, 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 ding.
That's a callback.
So yeah, I didn't know anything about it. I don't regret much in my life, and I don't regret watching this and covering it for the show. But it's one of the few times where like I actually had to watch it in parts because I was like, "Wow, this is not good. This is bad." But it was fun. It was fun. It'll be fun to talk about.
My brief history, we didn't really get into it, is that I tried to watch this movie over the course of the last 3 days, and I could not do it. My brain wouldn't allow me. I tried to do it in between doing work and eating, and my brain was like, let's look at TikTok instead. And I had to keep restarting it.
That's
I watched it all the way through with no distractions. I wanted to be prepared. It's called
I
being a
have-
professional. You could try it sometime.
So I watch really shitty movies purposefully, like all the time.
Same.
Because I enjoy it, and usually it'll be a science fiction movie with like, I don't know, like Daryl Hannah coming out of retirement to play like a general or something for 2 seconds at the beginning of the movie, and then a bunch of cardboard sets and really shitty CGI for an hour and a half. But I enjoy those because I'm giggling at how bad it is. When I'm watching this, I have this like sinking feeling in my stomach of like dread where I'm watching, or I'm like, I can feel, I'm like, time is passing by. I'm getting older and I'm going to die soon. Like, these are the things that are rushing through my head as I'm watching.
I agree 100%. There's bad movies and there's like bad movies.
Yeah.
There's
no fun to be had in that.
Yeah, it's not like
so bad it's
80s,
good.
An 80s horror movie that was made for $5,000 that's like pretty awesome because it's bad, or something like that. This is just like they made this and that's what they did for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
We ripped Halloween 5 we ripped to shreds, and Friday the 13th Part 5 we ripped to shreds. Those two movies, all the horror movies from the Grimoire month last month, I sat all the way through and couldn't take my eyes off them. We still ripped them asunder, but this one, for whatever reason, just, I don't know.
I think we can find the reasons. Let's list them.
We're gonna find them. So the next segment is director talk. Maybe we just play the sting. I need to actually mention something about this.
All right.
something.
Quiet on set. Are we rolling? Okay, let's shoot this piece of shit. Sound. Speed. Action!
This is one of those rare occasions where I don't know if that audio clip applies to the shitty movie we've watched, because there are 3 directors for this movie.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, and 2 of them have one IMDb entry, and it's this movie.
And no photograph of them, no evidence that they are still alive or doing other things. They just disappeared. And the other guy made a couple of shorts here and there, none of which I've seen. Maybe he's doing other stuff. Maybe he changed his name to get as far away from this project as possible, but I don't know. I couldn't find much.
The directors are Michael Raven, Michael Scully, Pete Smith.
They all sound like made-up names too.
We used to work with a guy named Peter Smith.
Remember Pete Smith? I wouldn't be surprised if that guy was the guy who made this movie, because he liked wrestling, I remember. And we worked with him slightly before 2007. Maybe that's what he did after he was a weird chef. He used to tell me weird stories about banging his wife, and it was gross.
What's up, Pete?
That is so weird.
What's up, Pete? That said, the same 3 people who directed the movie wrote the movie, and what I can't believe about this is 3 people made this thing, and it still ended up like nobody had any insight or vision. They were like, you know what we need? We need to make the FUBAR of wrestling movies, because that's what I think the direct inspiration for this movie is.
Well, yeah, because FUBAR seems like one of those movies that when you watch it, you're like, if you're an idiot, you think, oh, we can do that. We're funny.
Yes.
And
or you watch Trailer Park Boys and you're like, Mike Clattenburg is a genius for creating the Trailer Park Boys. The Trailer Park Boys is one of the best things ever created. And when it got into when it got out of Mike Clattenburg's hands, it starts to dip. But it's still great. You know what I mean?
Don't besmirch the later seasons.
I won't. I know Jacob actually is a background actor in an episode. He got a bucket list item that I didn't get to do. I'm going to try to get onto The Trades, the new show, The Trades. It's going to get near Rob Wells. But Halifax Lore, Trailer Park Boys, great show, great Canadiana. Fubar, great Canadiana. The second Fubar movie, not even that good because it's more of a movie than a mockumentary. This thing has the ripped off DNA. I know, Steve, you hate the term ripped off, but you got to admit it's a little bit too similar to the riffing that happens in Fubar.
Well, it's because a lot of this is probably improvised. They probably have a loose script where they're like, here, this is what you guys, the beats you need to hit in the scene. So just go in there and rip. And you can tell because it's bad. And, the way I was feeling about this is everybody knows that guy who's funny. And, let's say you're sitting around a campfire drinking whiskey or beer or something. And the guy is very funny around the campfire. But you put him on camera with a specific objective to be funny. And it doesn't work. And that's what this movie is. And it's from beginning to end, that's what it is. It feels like people trying to hit beats, improvising the stuff in between. And they're clearly not professional actors. I mean, one of them, I think, went on to the guy who plays Tomahawk
Jock. The best name I've ever heard. Horribly offensive.
Yeah. He went on to do stuff, and I think that he's still acting today, which is great. But he was probably one of the people they hired because he's an actor and not because he was just one of the guys that they
got. The top billed person in this movie is Erin Boyes, who plays Wendy. And I've seen her in other stuff. Okay. She's actually got 56 credits on IMDb. She's Al's daughter. Okay. She basically has 2 lines in the movie. She's top billed. If you go down the list of people in this movie, the main character of this movie is, I said 12th build, but he's, let me see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22nd build.
Okay, but this is just...
Could you count that again? I think you skipped something.
This is in order of appearance, I think. It's not in top build. Are you looking at IMDb?
Yeah, no, but he was you see him first in the movie.
Well, this is not a real movie, so saying top build is completely meaningless in the situation of
Listen,
Kayfabe.
If you go to a real movie, the first 3 people are Hugh Jackman.
I know, but if you go to a real movie,
Hugh
the
Grant,
person who's top build is the person who got paid the most to be in the movie, and I don't think anybody got paid to be in this movie.
The budget was $50,000.
$50,000? How the fuck did they get that?
Yeah,
man, I hope they made a little bit of that back.
I want to know, I didn't look up much about this because I assume there's no information about it, but if you look at the poster, it's got a bunch of those film festival thingies on it, but
but did you read what they are? They could.
Oh, is it body slammingest movie?
It's best comedy from Buttfuck Magazine. And you're like, oh god, I didn't know Buttfuck Magazine was giving out awards for best comedy. The thing is the poster is so pixelated that I can't see.
The movie's pixelated. There's a trailer for it that looks okay, but the rest of it is garbage. Mike Scully is a name I feel like I've heard, but it's obviously a different Mike Scully. It's on Rotten Tomatoes, not rated on Rotten Tomatoes, obviously. Kayfabe documentary, it has a Indiegogo, but that's a different thing. That's a completely different thing. There's no information about this movie. How did you glean that they had $50,000?
I did my research. The budget, it's on IMDb. The budget is there. It was in my notes that I wrote.
Yeah.
And there's 3 IMDb reviews, and the last one is from 2011.
So, somebody asked on Squared Circle on Reddit if anybody can find the movie on DVD. No responses. Archived.
I was so when I was making the video that we play at the beginning of the episode, the quality of the video that I had of this was so poor that I couldn't use it, because in order for you to even be able to tell what was going on, it had to be extremely small. So it would have been just like regular sized images and then like a tiny little box of, you know, Tomahawk Jacques doing some sort of offensive dance in the ring or whatever.
Yeah.
I do really appreciate some parts of this, like the kind of wrestling tropes, like the white guy playing the indigenous guy.
But in 2007, listen, let's get to the body of the episode. And let's
pretty hilarious.
Let's pull this thing apart and fuck it.
Yeah.
Everybody back up, because here comes the body of the episode.
Welcome to the body of the episode. This is, of course, the main podcast portion. I'd like to just recognize that if we didn't go into our favorite wrestlers and actually, you know, and have a conversation about a director that exists, like if we did a Martin Scorsese movie, we would have lots to talk about. We are at a half hour into this podcast. Normally we get through the rigmarole and it's 8:30. So we did a good job getting through that element.
Okay, cool. Thanks for bringing that up.
Well, I just want to say that this movie sucks. Again.
We know. We already said
it
like at least 10 times and we're not even half an hour into the show yet.
I already told Jacob that I owe him a real movie. So look forward to Jacob this summer coming back to talk about
this summer. Jacob gets to watch a real movie.
A real movie. Oh, and I changed my name to Boner Man, and I should probably.
Oh my god.
Okay, I want to do what Jacob's doing. There we go.
There
Hey,
you
it's me, Boner Man. Also, I'd like to say that we somehow just have like no viewers, and I have ways of like bumping that number up. It's like fate and reality don't care about this. Boner alert! Wrestlers start on the indies. Duh, is my first note about this movie. Okay, so Jacob, you were about to start talking about the tropes and the wrestling terminology. I think, ironically, the first like 5 or 10 minutes of this movie does a really fun job at explaining different tropes, such as like what
I would say they do. Yeah, I would say they do a good job. I wouldn't say they did a fun job. I was kind of like, oh god. I get it, but like also I was appreciative because then I wouldn't have known what all of the words meant that they kept saying throughout the movie.
Right.
And part of this makes me feel like I wonder how far into filming they got before they realized they needed this.
They're just using all this terminology and they need to put this scene in. I'll tell you right now that if you want to watch something like this, that's very like for wrestling fans, and it's actually pretty entertaining to watch. The show Heels is a good show about wrestling. Right, it's a TV show. It's their, you know, an hour-long drama. It feels a little CW-y, but they use all these terminology terms in a way that, you know, they explain it a little bit with
terminology terms. What is that?
Terminology terms. But you know, in this, they literally have to be like, "I'm using my gimmick tonight," and it freeze frames like ding, 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 and then you know they talk about what a gimmick is, and that's basically, well, they say it's like a thing that like. What do they say? Like a thing that
I think it's like your
like?
outfit, basically. Like it's just your like your whole deal as a character is your gimmick, right?
Like Kane is your gimmick.
Yeah, which is the definition of gimmick.
Yeah,
like
it's the definition of gimmick.
But like that's the only one that I was like, yeah, I could have got that without you saying it. But there's a
but doing like
known, yeah.
You probably never heard of doing the job, which is
that's what I mean. Is like they use this as sort of like an introduction to, hey, we're giving you this, so you know that you now have to read all of these as we go. Because like most people know what the word gimmick means.
Right.
It's a gimmick. You say that about like our podcast. Our gimmick is that we talk about movies, shitty movies. Whereas like you said, doing the job or like whatever, like the cutting your forehead,
color, getting
like,
color, or,
getting
or
color.
jigging.
You can also use gimmick as a verb though. Like if you got to go through a table, but it's a hard table, you gimmick the table.
You gimmick the
go
table.
through it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do kind of like that Justice says they kind of drop this halfway through the movie, but he's like Kayfabe, and it was kind of like his funny little catchphrase that he was doing. And ironically, at the end of this scene, when they say Kayfabe, and Steve, can you hit the title drop, please?
Oh my god, I'm not ready. Where is it? Shit.
It's there.
That's when they said the name of the movie in the movie.
At about 3 minutes, they say kayfabe after explaining all of these like wrestling terms, and they never explain what kayfabe is. And since this movie is called Kayfabe, I'm going to read you the dictionary term. Now, I've always sort of understood kayfabe to be like, you know, if you the kayfabe of wrestling is sort of believing the unbelievable and buying into it. But in professional wrestling, kayfabe is the portrayal of stage events within the industry as real or true, specifically the portrayal of competition, rivalries, and relationships between participants as being genuine or not staged. So basically, if you believe that Kane killed the Undertaker's parents and then died in a house fire and then was resurrected by Paul Bearer, that's kayfabe. The Undertaker
Well, that happened. That did happen. What do you mean?
The Undertaker can't really float around like a mystical wizard in the darkness and then appear before you and shoot laser beams at you.
Mae Young did not give birth to a hand.
Mae Young did not give birth to a hand.
Wait, what?
Because Mark Henry banged her.
You're talking like is it a hand that's alive, like in the Addams Family?
No.
Just
but then 20 years later, there was an adult hand.
Oh,
wrestling's cool.
Wrestling rules.
Good God.
I'm gonna pull this up while I explain a little bit more. Not handicap match, hand. It's like, did you mean handicap match?
Ugh, they make a joke about that later on, don't they?
Oh yeah, they're really insensitive, like when they're all the different tag teams.
Yeah.
So just to give you a little bit of context, Steve, in the Attitude Era, Mark Henry, Sexual Chocolate, had an insatiable hunger for sex, and he was banging everybody. And these two old ladies, old 60s wrestlers named Mae Young and the fabulous Moolah, in their 80s, were taking bumps. They were having matches. They were getting beat up by men. It was crazy. The Attitude Era is the craziest shit. Anyway, Mae Young gets pregnant with Mark Henry's baby. Mark Henry, the Olympian.
Legitimately one of the strongest people to ever live.
Yes. He's had an insatiable hunger for sex. He bangs her. He knocks her up.
Got it.
So they banged a lot, though.
They banged.
I just want to be clear on the
sexual hunger is, it's sexual, baby. It's gonna love you. She gets pregnant. She goes into labor early, and she gives birth to a hand.
Just a rubber hand.
Cookies here. Then on like the fucking 30th anniversary of Raw or something stupid, they bring out a guy who looks like this.
Oh,
and this is Hand all grown up. Yeah, that's Hand.
Okay.
Did you have that ready, or
I just pulled it up.
I'm glad that every weird thing I mentioned, you're going to be able to explain to Steve, who has no idea.
Yeah, Jacob, explain this.
Oh my God!
The very early Ric Flair.
Like 7 seconds after he was in a plane crash.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at those tights. Anyway, leather skin, all of it. Hand. So that's the story of Hand.
Got it.
Okay. Where was I? Oh yeah.
Quickly.
Yeah.
It did. That's how we got to do this. The other things I kind of talk about, the fees. I didn't know fees was. I thought that was literally just getting paid. But what was the fees again? Was that also getting color? FEEZ. Do you remember?
I didn't write that down, but I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. My Discord is open, so I'll close that. The gigging. They explain a bump. A bump is when you just like get pushed over onto the mat or body slam. That's a bump. And then I wrote lol, the French Canadian dressed as an Indian, and Tomahawk Jock is there. Oh, they also explain what rats are. Jacob, would you like to explain what ring rats are?
I mean,
just the ladies that try to give the wrestlers the old Mark Henry 1-2. You know?
See, the thing that's funny about that is they explain it like this in the movie. Ring rats are attractive women. But in the world of professional wrestling, if you go back and listen to somebody like Jake the Snake or Scott Hall talk about the 70s and 80s, ring rats, he's going to hate this, are the women who just are basically like the super fans. And the way that they explain it is they're not always attractive. And they still... Yeah, okay. Anyway, the title drop at 2 minutes. Oh, I here's a little wrestling reference for you. Title drop at 2.99.
Really?
That's when they said the name of the movie in the movie.
That's a reference to when they count 3 and right before the third, it's like this far away from the mat.
Yeah.
That's called a 2.99. That's why I thought I'd present it that way. And then I
didn't realize that this movie was so educational.
Well, that's where it ends.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Unless you want to learn what movie you should never watch again.
Yeah, you're going to learn all about it now. We get an opening credits, so that's just a montage of shitty indie wrestling. I fucking wrote a lot of notes about how I like Tomahawk.
Do you guys think that Mexican guy was actually Mexican, or is he just like being...
I wanted to teach a relation. I think he was just putting on an accent, a horrible one.
I think so too. But I mean, at the end, his accent sounded a little bit more authentic. Maybe because he wasn't like yelling it in a locker room with poor sound quality.
Or he got really good at it.
Yeah. Or he got really good at it. Yeah, it was that's because they filmed this movie over the course of 3 years. Probably.
Yeah, $45,000 of the budget was just the accent coach for that guy.
and it really paid off. Yeah, because he did a good job at the end. But they also were all mic'd up properly at the end of the movie. Like you could tell that they were properly like micing and lighting stuff in that one end scene, whereas everything else was just shoot and go.
They found the good camera at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Tomahawk Jock's accent though? Do you think that he was a real French Canadian?
No.
Like I am from Quebec. Like just the worst.
He was just talking like he was doing like a Jean Chrétien accent, which is like, ugh.
I'm not sure. Oh no, he's definitely not French.
No, his last name's like Johansson or
Johnson.
Johnson.
He actually has quite a few IMDb credits as well.
Yeah.
He was on Supernatural, a bunch of stuff.
He's actually the only legit actor, I guess. And Aaron Boyce, who played Wendy Thompson, and Lady Tennis Parenteau, Lady in Bar.
Parento.
She was in some stuff too. She's still working.
You telling me she played Lady in Bar in this movie? Holy shit!
She's on Gossip Girl for an episode, and Billions for 2. And a TV miniseries called Jason, which we
should also say, we're not disparaging anybody in this movie for being in this movie.
I'm disparaging them all. Individually calling you out.
It's true. They probably could have gotten themselves removed from.
You're watching this, you fucked up.
Jacob, earlier we were talking about this in our chat with AA Ron, and you were like, that show sucks. Like, kidding. I hope. But no, this is going to be one for the ages, I think, and it already is, because god damn it, like I could easily move through the next several lines and just say what happened, and I don't think there's much to comment on. They have the little handshake thing at the beginning. The new guy from a different territory comes to town. Casa Supernova,
so good.
Kind of reminds me of like
we get our first gay panic sequence.
There's a lot of gay panic in this movie, but they're all like, not that there's anything wrong with that.
I do like when he's just hanging out naked though. That's pretty funny.
That was actually quite funny. Yes.
Yeah.
That he's just, but they didn't do it enough. That's the problem. Is like he should have just every time they're in the locker room, he should have been naked every single time. It would have been funnier because they only do it twice, right? And like I at that point I was like, what's going on? This feels like a gay porno. I don't know if you guys have ever watched gay porno. I've watched plenty.
Constantly, yeah.
And like, this is what it feels like when he's complimenting him on his like his singlet or whatever. He's like, "That's really nice. Where'd you get it?" And I'm like, is this supposed to be funny? Is it like supposed to be like, oh no, maybe he's gay? And I couldn't tell because they weren't selling it enough.
Selling wrestling.
The movie was failing at its goal of like supplanting this idea. And they keep going back to it, and you don't fully get it until the joke where he's like, "Watch out for the gay guy, kiss me, and I'll tell you."
And then he shows up.
And then he's naked, and I'm like, "Oh, okay." So they are trying to make this, because I just thought maybe that he was, because they're all not good actors. I thought that maybe he was just like a little bit more flamboyant in real life, and this is how he's acting.
The worst one, though, of what you're talking about is when he has the match with, I think, Kevin Powers, like the Christian guy, and he puts him in a
abdominal stretch.
Puts him in the abdominal stretch, and he's so sweaty and just like humping him like thrusting for like too long and thrusting. And then after the match, he's like, I don't know, there's just something about him. He's a little weird.
He's just not right. I have to go talk to my church about this. Which on paper, if you perform that well, it could be funny, but it's not funny. It's offensive and bad. And same goes with the Jerry Seinfeld rip-off sequence of them all saying like there's nothing wrong with that kind of thing. Like they're doing the joke from Seinfeld a decade later. Yeah. And even now, if you look at the Seinfeld, you're kind of like, all right, not that great. But at the time, it was fresh and new. And then they're just doing the same thing. And it's even worse because they just like, you almost feel like, I don't think that these guys have ever met anyone who's gay before. Like they're just a bunch of, it's like the campfire thing that I'm talking about, where it's just like, these are funny people that you know from high school. You don't need to put them on camera and have them do their shitty joke. This is like stuff that if you put it through several filters of a writing process, you might be able to pull something out at the end that is actually funny, but it's like first draft material.
I was thinking
3 directors couldn't get it right.
Couldn't get it right. I was thinking
but that's the thing. I think that maybe the 3 directors was detrimental to them because they like
there's no vision.
No, they were probably all sitting in a triangle laughing at each other's horrible gay panic jokes, being like, that's so fucking
but also
funny, man.
See, what I was thinking about that is they didn't go full gay panic. It was like it felt like they had to keep going. It's 2007 though, we can't say that, we have to tiptoe around it. They didn't go one way or another fully. They didn't like treat it respectfully, but they also didn't be like hoo F slur this and that, right? So I think it could have been a lot worse. I think it could have been a hell of a lot better. But when you just kind of enlightened me, kind of just my ears perked up when you said first draft.
Yeah.
If this had more than one draft,
feels like a first draft on everything.
Yeah.
I would be baffled if there was a first draft. this was like put the camera up and
they came in that day at 9:30 a.m. and they had coffee and they sat down and they're like, I don't know, what are we gonna do? I don't know, what if we just like we'll all be, talking about how people think that wrestling is gay, and then one of us is gay, and it's you, because you look the gayest. And he's like, what? Yeah, you're gay, right? I'm not gay. And then it escalated from there, and they filmed it, and then it ended up in the movie. But I mean, there's lots of moments like that in this movie that are, there's a nugget of something that could be funny, but rather than try to cultivate it with writers, it's just a bunch of people standing around being like, this will be funny, this will be good.
It's clearly their first movie they've ever made.
Yes.
Well,
People who have never made a movie said, we'll make a movie.
Inversely, though, this has wrestling DNA all over it. The wrestling bits were surprisingly good. Casanova, Rookie, Al, the old guy, who's obviously not old, and even like Rocket, they all seemed like maybe they were indie wrestlers. Like maybe that's. I mean,
it wouldn't be surprising if they were, because they all have like the build for it, and they all seem to have that mentality, and they know the moves. So like, what do you think is more believable? They just got a bunch of amateur wrestler people, or they like trained a bunch of big boy actors to do it? They probably just got people who.
They went in. So I work for a company called Super Kicked as the announcer, and this felt a lot like they went to wrestling class, and they didn't even get the guys that are on the show. They got the trainees at the wrestling school to come in and do some bits. It's strange though, like the guy who plays Rookie and the guy who plays Casanova and Rocket, 2 of those guys have great physiques, and Rocket just looks like one of those like veterans who's been around forever, who just like can go out there and do a good job. Doesn't necessarily have a great physique, but he looked like he knew what he was doing. Justice looked like kind of had a similar vibe, but just didn't look. He looked like
Jerry
a failed,
Lawler build.
Yeah, he had like a failed wrestler build, and that's sort of what I like about this movie. Is it just felt like, this is my theory. I'll tell you. Can you hit the theory sting? About this movie, this started as we want to make a wrestling show DVD with a better storyline. And then somebody was watching The Office, because The Office was on like new, and they were like, what if? And the rest is history.
I mean, that is completely plausible. The Office had been on for what, 2 or 3 years at this
3
point.
years, yeah.
And you know, like I don't think that it's a bad idea either to have sort of like an amateur wrestling as the set piece for interesting and fun characters. The issue is that no one is interesting and no one is fun, and the characters that are supposed to be interesting are like, isn't it funny that he says "God damn" all the time? And we're gonna bleep it sometimes. We're not gonna bleep it all the time. And you're like, what? Why are you bleeping it sometimes and not other times? I don't understand.
They also go to the well 2 times with the like beeped out swearing bit. Where he swears a bunch.
But then there's also moments where he's not being bleeped and he's just saying all the same things, and you don't really understand why beep some and not others. Maybe if you're going to do the bleeping, bleep all of it, because then maybe it'll be funny, or bleep none of it and just make him say "God damn" a lot, because that could be funny as well. But it's not. Also, I don't understand. Like, that guy plays the 2 characters, right? He plays the announcer and he plays the old man, and you're like, why? He's doing a Mike Myers thing here, but like, he's not. Whoa. Yeah, the old man, the guy who has the gray hair, is also the announcer guy. The guy who's like Randy Savage, or he's like Macho Man.
Oh shit! It was.
Yeah.
What? How did I? Because I was like, these 2 guys are clearly wrestlers.
Have you guys never seen The Nutty Professor?
No. I feel dumb because I thought it was
Payne. Yeah,
I thought it was John Morrison at very first, and that I was waiting to see wrestlers in this movie that I recognized. I actually thought local.
But if you're gonna do that, then
RJ City was in this, but he's not. He's
if you're gonna do that, give him like 3-4 characters. Like, go full Austin Powers mode. That's true. Like, give him a shitload of characters. So, remember that weird priest that's in the movie for like
make him that also.
Make him that character. Make him all the weird side characters, and just force it, because the Irish priest was like, I was like, what accent is this supposed to be?
I cannot have you in here. I'm Irish.
It sounded like he was doing a Jamaican accent at point. Yeah. I'm like, what is this guy doing?
I was distracted by that too. I was like, wow, this guy's not.
So like, if you're gonna have somebody that bad be the priest, then just get that guy to also do the priest, because he's already doing a bad job as the other 2 characters. Make him. But there's a part of me that thinks that maybe that dude has some sort of weird ego. But who knows? I don't know.
He's probably actually a veteran wrestler. Speaking of that, the next scene in the movie is like the bar. Okay, and they're in the bar, and it's like they do this thing. There's a lot of nonsense. It's just them kind of riffing, but they do this thing that enlightened me to something about 1970s wrestlers. So Jacob, you know this, and Dark Side of the Ring covers this. When wrestlers would go to bars, they would rip the shit. They fucking rip it apart with their rage and their somas and their cocaine and their everything else. Their steroid rage, right? And you hear these old stories about them just like destroying hotel rooms and this and that. This enlightened me to the fact that all of that is kayfabe just to keep up appearances, because in this movie they do this thing where
it though? I don't know.
It might be like I could totally imagine. I could totally imagine. Well, true, they were all fucked up in the 70s and 80s, but maybe that was a thing, because in this movie, about halfway through the night, one of them gets into a fake fight with the other, and they start brawling, and it turns into a giant brawl. But it's all worked. It's all worked. Like they're not really fighting. They're just doing it to like drum up support and publicity for the next show. So I should say that the conceit of this movie is that the TCICWF, which I hate that, is
I think that's also supposed to be funny, because it's like, it's funny how long
too many letters.
Yeah,
but that's an indie wrestling trope where the name is very long.
Yeah, Super Kick, to the company I work for, is actually an anagram, but
they kept bringing up.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say they kept bringing up Cloverdale, and I'm like, Cloverdale Mall? You guys know the Cloverdale Mall in Etobicoke? So I'm like, is this filmed in Etobicoke?
I think it was. There were scenes in this that looked like where I live in Weston,
but it looks like sort of like the no man's land between like suburbia and like a dense city center, where you're like in the area where there's like a lot of industrial buildings and like strip malls and stuff,
Yeah, and what they got wrong with the bar scene is everyone's at the bar drinking together.
Yeah,
what's wrong with that, Jason?
Well, kayfabe indicates that you don't, the heels and the faces don't go to a
Exactly.
bar together. But in a modern day, it's even worse than that. When the wrestlers leave indie shows, they all drive back to their fucking their towns that are miles away. Like wrestlers just leave wrestling shows.
But I mean, we watched
they don't hang out together.
We watched the Iron Claw last week, and there's the scene where Eric Von Butten or whatever, what's his name? Kevin Von Erich, sorry.
Eric Von Butten, the Von Erich brother. Yes.
He beats the shit out of Ric Flair, and then right afterwards Ric Flair comes in with just blood all over him, and he's like, "Let's go get fucked up together, man. That was amazing. You're the best. I'll give you a rematch anytime." So like, I assume that even in professional wrestling, there was like a certain level of respect and platitude to be given,
for sure. But it was more of a you couldn't go have a heel and a face fight and then see them together at the bar later, right?
To the point where
they had to keep kayfabe, right? That's what
there were situations where the boys would drive together from town to town, and there's famous stories about the boys getting pulled over because they're drinking 30 beers in a 3-hour drive, like ridiculous shit on the road, and then they can't have them show up to the town together because these people are feuding. And kayfabe was a lot more protected, probably up until about 1993. Yeah, kayfabe was fucking crazy because people believed wrestling was real until the internet.
It's crazy that people thought it was real. Like, this man dressed like a circus clown is fighting a man dressed like a dentist. It's real.
Yeah, that was the new generation. Yeah. That's about it. That's about the time when wrestling was revealed to be not real. And then it was very real again when the NWO and D-Generation X were feuding. But the thing is like when WCW and WWF were fighting with each other in the late 90s, all the biggest guys were all best friends behind the scenes. They were trying to one up each other in like a camaraderie way. Yeah. But in the 70s, like they didn't really cover that in the Iron Claw, which was another kind of frustration I had with the movie. Like there were some that things about rules. It's a fantastic movie, don't get me wrong, but there's some things in that movie that I wish they would have, like, I hope they put out like a longer cut of it. I hope there was some cutting room floor about some more of the stuff that this movie ironically kind of covers, but the rules, because in the 70s, like Jacob said, Ric Flair was kind of going out of his station to say something like that to Kevin Von Erich. They would not be caught dead having a match earlier that night and then drinking together later. And they would definitely not be caught dead before the match interacting with each other unless it was like, I'm going to beat you up doing promos at each other. To put it bluntly, in the 1970s, people like Ric Flair would get like bottles thrown at their head. Rowdy Piper almost got stabbed by a person because of his heel work. You know, man. Like that's how
haven't
real...
you seen They Live? That man will beat you up in an alley.
It's true.
And force you to wear sunglasses.
That show all the aliens.
Yeah.
So while I do like that they were trying to like show these things about wrestling, 2000.
I mean, let's also be clear: the Iron Claw is not really about the rules of wrestling. It's more about a tragedy of a family that was involved in the industry, and this movie is about. I don't know. You tell me what this movie's about, because I sure as shit don't.
Iron Claw is very Hamlet adjacent, and this is a festering, flaming pile of trash adjacent.
Yeah.
So
this
they're going to lose.
Is a sick
storyline for you. They're going to lose their lease on the training center. And then I wrote, maybe because 8 people come to the shows and they have 1 fan. That sounds familiar.
But don't you think that a plot point introduced like this would then be the plot of the movie? And they would be like, how do we figure out how to get this building to not get sold? And then we will, but that doesn't happen. The building still gets sold in the end. It's just them like, all right, let's have a great last run, guys. And then that's it. Like, that's nothing, no stakes at all. They don't even care to try and save it. They're like, let's just, fizzle and die. respectively.
It's very like 80s movie where you have to have a ski jump contest to save the lodge.
Right.
No one does the contest.
Nobody
and
cares.
The lodge. Yeah.
They're like, I guess that's it. I guess we'll have our big final
in an
show.
In an actual movie, him giving the belt over to I don't know, Stinky,
Justice.
whatever his name is, Dusty.
Justice.
What was his name? Justice. Oh, I thought you said Dusty. I'm like, yeah, that tracks. Giving the belt over would then have like an uproar in some sort of. Have you ever seen the end of like Be Kind Rewind, where like they project the movie on the inside of the window, and then everybody in the street is watching, and they all like save the video store. That's the ending that you would have, but this movie's just like, no, let's all get drunk in the dressing room, and then we'll have an additional fucking 8 minutes of credits where this guy is still talking over the credits, so I still have to watch it. I was so looking forward to the credits so that I could end it. And the movie keeps going to the last second of the credits. I'm like, I guess I have to watch.
When we do a shitty movie
it.
And I see an 87-minute runtime, and I know 10 minutes of that is going to be credits, so it's like a 70-minute movie.
But sometimes if the movie's from the 80s, the credits are only like 2 minutes because not a lot of people worked on it.
or they start with the credits.
Yeah, or they start with the credits.
If you watched this movie literally today, they have this sequence where they're I think it was Powers, the Christian guy, was like talking about football legends that one of the other wrestlers reminds him of, and he mentions Reggie White and AC Green and OJ Simpson.
Yeah,
OJ Simpson died today.
What?
Which I thought was crazy, because as I'm watching this movie, I get my phone lights up with OJ Simpson is dead. That's crazy.
Wait, are you saying OJ Simpson is dead?
OJ Simpson died.
He died
of cancer.
Oh, the secret killer. Who gives a fucking shit?
Exactly.
That guy was a terrible person.
He was
pretty
awful.
sure he got away with murder. I mean,
he literally got away with murder
times. Yeah.
Twice. Yeah.
And he wrote a book called How I Would Have Done It.
Yeah.
What?
If I did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was If I Did It.
Or If I Did It.
Yeah.
Right.
And then he
just
stole
explaining how he literally did it.
He stole a bunch of he just wrote out what he did. He fucking chopped that white woman's head off.
Oh my god.
That's a lot. That's
Jason.
too much. Let me get
Chill
that for you.
out. It was just a paper cut. Wasn't that like part of the trial stuff or whatever?
Yeah. Here, let me get that for you. I'll do it.
So I agree that the OJ Simpson joke was funny and good, but the actor delivering it didn't seem
delivered it like this.
He didn't have any kind of comedic timing. He didn't pace out the joke, so it just seemed like he was listing athletes, and he didn't have any kind of punch to it. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but like, when somebody is giving a perfect. Think about like The Office as an example.
Yeah.
When like Michael Scott is like listing things, and then he gets to the funny bit at the end. It's very clear that it's part of the joke, whereas this guy had like no sensibility of how to list these names out. Yeah. So it just came off as like, I understand this is a joke, but when like something hits you so hard comedically that you can't stop laughing, but you're anticipating it. This was like the opposite effect, where like I was anticipating the joke and I was expecting a joke, and then it hit me and like I felt like let down. Like the movie, like the movie like hurt my feelings. I felt like I was less happy than when I had started that joke, which I was like, okay, here comes a joke.
I will say, sorry, Jacob, to reveal this about you, but Jacob earlier today messaged me and said, Steve's going to hate this.
I did say
I think if you know me for even just a little bit.
I know you for one podcast.
Yeah. It's not hard to know that I'm not going to like this.
Yeah.
But it's for stuff like this. It's for jokes that you can tell, like I said before, they set up a joke. They probably wrote most of that out. And in the hands of anybody competent, they could at least make it feel like a joke and not like somebody reading a joke. It's almost like the guy didn't get the joke who was saying it. Like he didn't realize.
Yeah, he just read it off a cue card. And the thing too, that it's interesting from my point of view, that is like somebody with encyclopedic knowledge of wrestling I did find some gems in there, and same with you probably too, Jacob. Like, I went to wrestling school. They introduced this character Cam in this next little bit, and I actually went to wrestling school with a person similar to Cam, who is sucked, like terrible, never going to be a wrestler, never going to get invited to be on the main show, but they tried their damnedest, but constantly fucked up. And this person was just paying the people money to just get trained. And eventually the trainers had to be like, we can't take your money anymore. And I believe that if this story continues,
we've now officially become a scam because of you.
Yeah. Like the Cam character, I kind of felt bad for, because he reminded me so much of this wrestler that I knew that just was just throwing money, just had this dream and just constantly fucked up. And it's funny because there's parallels where they always wanted to do things. They always wanted to like have run-ins or do a promo, and they were asked to do the most simple shit, because when you're in wrestling school, you have to be part of ring crew. When you're part of ring crew, you have to do things like go out on a flyer, help set up the ring and put up the chairs and put up the signs and blah, 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 put up the lights. And when I was doing it, I was like, fuck this. This is dumb. My ability to announce is clearly amazing. I should be talent. But this person would fuck up the simplest tasks, and they got to do a promo one time on a student show. We used to do these student shows. Fucked that up, ruined it. And then that's when they had to be like, you can't come here anymore. So I feel like if the TCICWF had continued going on, the sequel to this movie, which obviously is going to get made at any time now,
I think we could make it and no one would care.
Yeah.
We could call it Kayfabe, the secret of the ooze.
Yeah. We have 4 directors this time.
Yeah. We'll get Tim
Kalen back.
We'll get Kalen back and Tim Covey. A lot of, anyway, I'm not going to despair.
The whole time you were talking there, I was trying to rework how that guy read that O.J. Simpson joke in my head and how it could be better. And I figured it out, but I don't want to do it.
Just do it. You got to do it.
Well, it would be like, you'd have to be like, like all my favorite athletes, like Tom Brady, Sam Brady, Brian Brady, O.J. Simpson, Fred Brady. And then you just have to like have a breath, and then list a bunch more afterwards, and then maybe like cut it off as he's still listing names. So like, like the camera gets bored of him and then it cuts to something else. Like,
did Reggie White and AC Green both like murder their spouses or something too? I know the name AC Green from a Dr. Dre song. You look like AC Green, bitch, don't call here anymore.
Was he naming all sports people who were murderers?
3 football players specifically.
No.
They're not murderers. Were they known for domestic violence then?
Not to my.
That would have been maybe more funny if he just listed all horrible murderers. Like that would be pretty funny.
AC Green is a basketball player.
Yeah, he was wholesome though. He's cool.
Okay.
Anyway, I just think that there's a way to like maybe even save this movie in editing that like because they never really cut things off in a comedic way. It's always just sort of like, now it's outwarmed its welcome and it's over. It's fizzled and sizzled and now it's dead.
And the worst thing Reggie White of the Packers ever did is he appeared in a newspaper advertising campaign to convince gays and lesbians that they should cease their homosexuality, which on the scale of things,
slightly below murdering your ex-wife in a
decapitating her.
Still not great though.
With all due respect, yeah,
still bad.
Not great, but like,
yeah.
Steve, cease your actions.
Yeah.
Well, he was also like a weird religious guy, right? That was his whole gimmick.
Yeah.
Is that he had a Jesus fish on his singlet.
Right. And I think that if this movie took any time to like do any character development, he might have, when Casanova is pumping on him a little bit, he might have been more like, I felt weird feelings, not just like,
or he could have been like in the ring, been like, what in the name of God are you doing? Like, he could have said like crazy.
I was waiting for the punchline there. Like, he just taps and leaves.
Yeah.
It's...
One thing I did think that was pretty funny was that he had like a heart with a star like right where his butthole would be, like on the butt
Yes.
of his
And he was so sweaty all the time.
Oiled, just he
like
was
oiled
He
up.
was
Yeah.
constantly oiled up,
Yeah,
which was really funny.
That was another gay joke, is like he's oiling himself. And
that's a wrestler joke.
well,
Like,
yeah, but I mean,
like a lot of wrestlers are notoriously just covered in oil all the time.
for sure. But then the joke isn't really that he's oiling himself. The joke is that he's asking him to do his back, which is like typically something you would ask, like, you know, someone you're attracted to do, because you just want them to touch you.
Jason, will you oil my back?
Well, I'm definitely going to be on a list for this, but I'm going to show you a little picture of an oiled man.
Oh God,
It's Randy Orton. It's going to be Randy Orton, isn't it?
Jacob. Okay.
Did I ruin it?
No, you
I'm
fucking
leaving.
enhanced it, if anything.
I knew it was going to be the most over-oiled wrestler of all time. I knew.
Do you know what's funny about him being over oiled? They banned baby oil in WWE for like 5 years because Randy Orton would come and wrestle a match, and then people would go to do moves off the top rope and fucking slip and die. Not die, slip and wipe out.
Yeah,
that's pretty funny though. That should have been a joke in this movie. That would have been so funny.
I think that's the joke they were trying to make, because this would have been in 2000.
No, but I mean, like, so like, you know, there's like
2007,
The end of this movie-
in 2007 is like the beginning
Prime-
of Randy Orton's career.
prime oily Randy Orton.
You know, there's like a shitload of wrestling matches at the end of this movie in a row. It would have been funny if after their match, the next guys were just like sliding around the ring, like they can't grip each other. They're falling into like pools of oil.
Yeah,
like that would have been funny. But I mean, that's like an Airplane style joke that they probably didn't have the extra.
These guys don't know who Mel Brooks is.
$2,000 to. Mel Brooks didn't direct Airplane.
Yeah, but you're right. It's the guys who made the Naked Gun movies, no, they were involved.
Yeah, they produced
the director. Yeah, they produced it. I know you guys. I know, Steve, you don't think there's any plot points, but they do introduce a bit of a plot point to explain the relationship between Justice and Rocket at this point. Cam loves the Rocket, right? We learn that about him. But then
so does Casanova Frankenstein or whatever his name is.
But then it's revealed through Cam sort of babbling. There was a match that happened like several years before between Justice and Rocket where Rocket got Justice up for a brainbuster suplex, dropped him right on his head, right when Rocket was supposed to go to the show. Now, for you sports fans at home, the show means WWE. Let's not mince words. It means WWE because in 2007 there were two wrestling companies that were big. One was huge, WWE. One was tiny.
I wonder why they weren't allowed to say it.
TNA. Probably just trying to avoid any, because WWE over the years has been really weird about their IP.
But I mean, you're like just not even being allowed to mention them is kind of wild. But I guess they are.
They're a product
at the end of the day.
Think about Nintendo though. Think about what Nintendo's done over the years for just people trying to like.
But like, if you were to mention, like, let's say you're making a joke in a movie where like two people are in a restaurant and they're like, you know, like, can I get a Coke? And they're like, oh, we only have Pepsi, sorry. And then you're like, fuck, like, like that's the joke. Are you allowed to say that in a movie?
They have lawyers that write all that. Entertainment lawyers scribe all that. What's allowed to be said. That's all. That goes through layers of lawyer to be able to say that.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I do.
These guys had no lawyers. There's one. The three writers probably shared one lawyer during the making of this movie.
Or maybe one of them was a lawyer. One of the wrestlers like to like. He was a lawyer full time, but he liked to wrestle on the sides. And he's like, guys, you can't mention the WWE. They'll come and they'll take all of our singlets and our ropes and our baby oil.
Yeah.
We can't make this movie with a
50 to 100 like that.
Most of Casanova's jokes are baby oil based. So we need that. Anyway, it's implied that Justice wanted to get to the show over the Rocket, dropped him on his head. Rocket got injured. Randy Taylor, was that his name? Randy Tyler. I wrote plot point just to make sure that, because I was watching this movie and a lot of times I was like, what is this movie about?
It's not about anything. That's the thing.
So they ripped off Seinfeld too, is what you're saying.
No. Seinfeld,
the movie about nothing.
Typically,
not that there's anything wrong with that.
Plots. They did rip off Seinfeld, just not in the way you're saying. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Anyway, Cam just wants to do a clothesline and punches Justice directly into the head. He gets one shot at doing a wrestling move to the big veteran guy, and he punches him in the head. I thought that was funny because I've seen that happen, and that happened to me. The reason why I quit wrestling training is because somebody did a fucking headlock takeover to me, and then they just stayed on top on my windpipe, and the person who was like, not the like the trainer isn't like a referee in that situation. He started like talking about why headlock takeover looked fine, but I was underneath this 300-pound dude dying, like choked, like my windpipe was, I was being choked out.
And there's video evidence of this. I want to see it.
Why, you pervert?
Personal reasons.
Please don't masturbate to me dying.
What else would you masturbate to?
Jesus, Jason, you sick, twisted pervert.
I'm the pervert. You want to see footage of me getting... Anyway, these injuries with inexperienced wrestlers happen at training all the time. I've seen people get taken on ambulances a lot of times. So I get the comedy behind him throwing like the worst clothesline ever. He also went super high with the clothesline. You're supposed to get perfectly across like here, but he just elbowed him in the head.
This is also like, it's not well executed to be comedic, because like I didn't really understand that was supposed to be comedic. I thought once again it was like, this is the reality of wrestling. Like that's all it came off.
No, that was a joke
across to me. Well, see, not to me it wasn't, because I didn't find it funny at all.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, I guess this happens in wrestling.
I think this movie was more funny to people that know a lot about wrestling, maybe.
But that's a failure of the movie because
100%.
Iron Claw.
I'm not saying that's a good thing. Yeah, I took my girlfriend to see Iron Claw. She's never watched wrestling in her life.
Yeah.
She's like, "How's a good movie?"
Yeah. Also, Iron Claw made me laugh more than this, and Iron Claw is one of the most tragic things I've seen in a long time.
They took tragedy out of that movie, but you'll get to that next time.
Next time we review Iron Claw Part 2.
Oh, you did it already?
Yeah, last week.
Yeah, last week.
Oh, I pay attention, of course.
I also said that to you like multiple times.
Oh my God, you can talk.
Right.
I really like the clampdown. Do you guys remember the clampdown? El Robato's move where he just like twists the nipples and just holds.
Yeah.
I think there's something there. That's in my notes. I love that move.
The one thing in this entire movie that made me go like, that's what it got out of me.
A little bit of air through your nose.
Was a roboto thing, and I'll when we get to it, we get to it.
Yeah.
I don't want to reveal it too early on because it's the one thing I'm holding on to be like, if you like anything, you'll like this. Maybe
that was squandered because it should have been revealed that the robot was a robot the whole time for real.
Maybe would have made the movie
Spoiler
better.
alert.
I don't know. Yeah.
That doesn't also happen. Who was?
No, that was what he said. He's like, oil alert. I'm running low on oil.
I never really clocked who El Roboto Fantastico was. Was that the Spanish guy?
Yeah, the
guy
little
who
Mexican
walks in the beginning with a sombrero on.
Yeah. Okay.
Come on.
Get it? Because he's a
who else is it gonna be?
No. Play the thing.
I think I would have removed it.
No way.
No way.
Did you?
Wait.
A person just like, I just noticed a new viewer come in right then. That's what they heard.
That's their entrance music.
Yeah.
Every time they show up.
What's up, viewer?
Yeah.
What's up, viewer? What's up, my viewer? Justice talking about the difference between an indie and the show. Is that the WWE or like a slightly bigger indie? I think he was literally talking about getting a tryout for the WWE because weirdly enough, this is almost 20 years ago.
Maybe this is a fantasy movie and the WWE doesn't exist and this is its own world. It's called the WWG.
World Wrestling.
Worldwide Globe. That's what it's called. And you wrestle on it. Woohoo! Oily.
So oily.
Look at his wiener. What a bulge. Cam forgot the bell. That's what I was talking about.
This is what happens when you don't watch gay porn, Jason. You look immediately at the bulge and not at everything else.
I didn't realize there was anything but a bulge there.
Yeah.
Bulge surrounded by oil.
I was looking at the contours and the oil. All right, go ahead. take us. Oh God, damn!
What a start! Okay, this is the 70s. Okay, this is
The 70s,
the 90s. Well, it's the early 2000s, and this is like the mid 2000s. Not a lot's changed.
I mean, they're getting hotter.
Yeah.
Wait, go back to Ric Flair. The greatest wrestler of all time.
Oh, and here's also the 70s.
Oh my!
Oh, I watched the Harley race last night.
God.
Yeah, Dark Side. Great.
Is it from the new season, or is it just?
Literally, yeah, it came out Tuesday. It's the newest
Fuck.
one.
That's one I do want to. That's one I do care about.
Yeah.
Harley Race is a fucking bruiser, buddy. He'll fucking kick your ass for real. That's why I liked his portrayal in the Iron Claw. Him calling it on the fly, like now.
I like that he looked like
he's
a regular
Stinger.
guy though too. Like I mean, he obviously looked like a big man,
Yeah.
like a strong man, but he just looks like somebody you would run into in a bar, and then you would be.
But he
kinda
was
screwed up.
notoriously like one of the toughest people.
And he cuts
Ever.
promos like this.
Yeah.
It's the Jake the Snake school of cutting
Bullshit.
promos, where you whisper so people have to lean in and listen to what you're saying.
All right, Jason.
What do you get my meaning? Because
This is the energy you're giving me right now.
Well, my name is Jason, so yeah, they have to bang two horseshoes together. I wrote that's hilarious too. I don't think it's hilarious.
It's funny that he kept forgetting the bell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cowbell bit at the end was kind of funny.
Yeah.
They discussed that Justice has to wrestle twice on the show, which they fucking go to the well a couple times on. We get a little bit about what heels versus baby faces are. Heel, of course, is the bad guy, and a face is the good guy. It's pretty.
I didn't know they
simple.
were called baby faces. I thought it was just faces.
It's baby face is like the old school term.
But is Casanova a heel or a baby face?
No, he's a face. He's definitely a face. I read him as a face. Would you agree with that? He's too he doesn't have any personality.
I think it's not really well defined, but I would say yeah, because he's wrestling the Christian guy who I kind of saw as a heel.
I kind of saw him as like a heel because he might come out in a town that's like not necessarily a religious town. Everybody's like, boo, don't tell me what to do.
Yeah,
but he might work face in that Christian school.
Yeah, like
Casanova
Bret
might
Hart
work
in the
heel.
90s.
Yeah,
he's a heel in America, but a face in Canada.
Yeah,
but doesn't the heel, what's his name, Slappy, the main guy,
Rocket,
he comes out and he like starts being like, this whole town is full of Bible thumping dildo men made of plastic and shit or whatever.
So what kind of happens in wrestling is every wrestler who's introduced kind of starts as a heel. When you're introduced, you're new and people hate things that are new. Then you either like get over with the fans organically, or they turn you face, which is like you start beating up a heel, right?
And it's so much easier to be the heel. That's what I've heard.
To be the heel.
Wrestling like interviews and stuff is like it's so easy to be the bad guy. It's really hard to keep people liking you as a face for years and years.
Yeah,
this is a weird comparison, but like the same goes for Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know if you guys have ever played it, but
never heard of it.
It's really easy for you. I said played it, not heard of it, but it's really easy for you to be hated, but it's difficult for people to end up caring for you, especially if you start off as a heel. And it's like there is something very interesting about creating a dynamic where you are sort of this like not a villain necessarily, but someone that people dislike, and then eventually that grows beyond it.
Do you understand now why I started Boat Door as neutral?
Jason, Boat Door is a basic bitch character with
He's
nothing.
A face now. He's
Boat
ingrained. Boat Door is my name. It's pronounced Boat Door. It's
more of a boat.
And when he talks about his wife, he says, "My wife."
Oh, you do the Borat voice?
No, I don't do the Borat voice. The character
Boat
was
Door.
I started him as neutral, and Boat Door is based off something else.
Boat Door is a good character.
I just want to say I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, no, I get.
I mean,
that.
that's how I felt about most of this conversation so far, but
right?
I haven't said it.
Every time I go into like wrestling mode, Steve is like,
yeah.
I think at one point I did this.
You had your D&D moment.
I just closed my
Hey,
eyes.
Where'd he
But
go?
Botor, that's funny.
Both door. It's a whole thing. I don't really want to. I'll explain it to you
His
later.
story is similar to like Maverick, the movie Maverick, where he goes on a riverboat to try and win money or whatever, and then like
With
he
Mel
has to
Gibson?
Yes, that's how I pictured Boat Door's whole like existence, was like trying to figure out how to get a bunch of money to pay off some people on a riverboat.
Yeah. Both Door was
Anyway, let's get back to the
performer.
movie here. This piece of shit movie that we're talking about.
Ha ha ha! A 4-minute chin lock. What an asshole. Okay, so this
Is that when he's like, "Hey, how's it going?"
Yeah.
Like
So
talking to each other?
this is actually fun. I thought this was a fun moment because in wrestling, they're talking to each other the whole time, like literally. Because
this is also, again, I know I'm gonna keep bringing this up. This is something that could have been
Funny.
genuinely funny, and it's not.
Well, the thing that I didn't like about this bit was that this conversation they're having is boring.
Yes. And imagine they got way closer and way quieter and way sweatier. Like imagine there's like sweat pouring down their faces. The guy is like actually got veins coming in his head. And he's like, "Hey, how are you? You doing what you do today?" And he's like, "Oh, I just did a whole shitload of squats or whatever. Thinking about getting some." Oh, they talk about the boots. Even the boot conversation could be funny, but they're like they just, I don't know, man. It's like there's a grain of creativity with no power to execute what they're trying to execute, and it ends up just being disappointing. You're like, I can see why this would be funny.
Little bits of good ideas that just go the worst way that idea could have possibly went.
Well, they fuck up. They get out of the headlock, and then they fuck up the spot, which I've seen. You see in wrestling.
That was kind of funny. I thought
I liked that as a wrestling
You're just
fan.
standing there like,
what do we do?
great.
I've seen that a million times, even in WWE, where you're supposed to be like the best of the best. That shit happens when you bring in some new guy who's like not ready for the show, but then Justice calls an audible and just power bombs him 3 times, which I thought was great too. But that was actually funny to me because the commentators are losing their mind. Like, what is he doing? He's gonna power bomb him again, because there are wrestlers that they're like finisher. They're so powerful that they just power bomb the fuck out of people. And Justice was like the wrong actor for that role. If they had some like crazy like jacked beef guy to play that character, this bit would have worked better. But I did find it funny
now,
that
entering the ring is Beef Guy,
jacked up beef guy.
I thought that actor worked well because he seemed to be the guy who was like kind of the top of the local indie scene, but wasn't. And because they say Randy Tyler says he's the best worker in the Fed or whatever, and doesn't mean you're the best looking guy. But
okay,
I thought it worked. I thought he was like the kind of the grizzled vet who will never be anything bigger, but everyone thinks he's going to go to the show because he's the best there, but that still means you're kind of shit.
Like he's not handsome. He's got a shitty hairline, but he's
he's not in great shape.
That's how I saw Randy Tyler the whole movie. I was like, that guy should be the face.
This is why I thought that he was the director or writer of the movie, because I was like, this guy
just put himself in the.
Why is he the star? Yeah, like it's like it's like a Neil Breen movie or something where you're like, okay, I understand why this is happening, but he must have just been like a local wrestler that they're like, this guy has agreed to be in our movie. He's really big. Let's do it.
He looked so fucking familiar to me too, and I thought he was an actor from something. Like, where do we know this fucking guy from? He's got to be in like.
He looks like like all those male Karen videos you're seeing these days.
Yeah,
he looks like that. Yeah,
he probably like worked at the Quinpool Road McDonald's or something.
That's what I'm saying. Like maybe
15 years ago. Like, oh fuck that guy.
Maybe we saw him
works at the Cloverdale Mall. Yeah,
maybe it's fully possible that there's dudes in this movie that I've like worked with. If this movie was filmed in Ontario, like I'm pretty sure that it was
Vancouver.
Oh, it was Vancouver.
Yeah, West Coast.
Well, that doesn't really prove anything because all these indie boys travel all around. They basically do Vancouver, Ontario, like Southern Ontario, and Halifax. That's like the indie circuit. Like Troy Merrick.
A couple more cities for us, please.
Well, that's all I need.
Oh,
nobody really wrestled. Well, in Quebec, I guess. In Montreal, I think there's a little bit of Maryville, Quebec.
Isn't that where the Tomahawk Jacques or whatever comes from?
That's his name. Not or whatever. That's his name.
I know. I couldn't remember if I said it right. I wasn't sure if it was Jacques Tomahawk or Tomahawk Jacques. Both are funny.
Tomahawk Jacques was the next.
If you're insensitive. Yeah,
that's true. The robot and now rocker and power spot. Oh, so the Tomahawk Jock and Rocket are having a match. No, two of them are having a match on the same show, and they spot a rat and they call her a rat. She's just a regular attractive woman, and they sexually assault her a little bit. He's like, look at her, throw me out there.
Wait, are you telling me that this movie where they spend 15 minutes making fun of little people has a sexual assault scene?
They don't go too far with it.
He lands on her lap, not to defend her.
And that's a thing that happens in wrestling too. There's a thing in wrestling, it's like a rule of like wrestling 101, if you will, where you're supposed, if you can't like get over with the audience, what you should at least be doing is making eye contact with people. Like if you're in a hold, like if you're in a headlock, find somebody in the audience and just make eye contact with them. So at least you're popping one person or being sympathetic to one person.
Whoa, is that a thing they do for real?
Yeah.
That's scary. I don't like that.
Well, it's just to try to.
If you did it to me, I would close my eyes or I'd look away.
Okay,
but it's like,
stop looking at me. I don't like it.
I
don't like when I'm at a comedy show and somebody looks at me who's on stage if I'm too close to the front. I'm like,
I don't like when anyone talks to me for any reason.
Yeah, me there.
Wrestling fans are a little different, you know. Like,
One time I went to a stand-up comedy show and they asked me a question and I said no, thank you, instead of answering.
Does that ever happen to you, Jacob?
No.
If you were doing crowd work,
I don't. I have a bit where I do really bad crowd work, and that's it. But yeah, no.
I wonder if Stu does crowd work. He seems like the type. Pull a bass.
Let's get him on.
Yeah.
Stu, do you do crowd work?
I think the question was, what did you do today? And I said, no, thank you. He moved.
You ruined that guy's night. I hope
he moved on pretty quickly to the person next to me.
He's like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And this part is just a full wrestling match. This is the first time we see just a full wrestling match. Rocket punches him in the head with a roll of quarters. I think he was fighting Randy Powers or Todd Powers or whatever.
Austin Powers?
It doesn't matter.
Groovy, it does not. And then at the end of the show, so earlier, there's two things we glossed over. Doesn't matter, but they did a thing where if you shake a person's hand, so in wrestling, when you get to the show, not the show that this movie's talking about, when you get to the promotion, you shake everybody's hand. That's sort of a rule that's trying to be phased out by people our age because it's
COVID. Oh.
And also COVID, but it's dumb. Like, I don't feel like I hate getting to I hate going to Super Kicked and all these people like I barely know, even though I've worked with them a million times. I hate having to like shake all their hands, but you don't like ask, you don't like, how are you doing? You're just like shake.
Oh,
and
so it's like a little league baseball game.
Yes.
Oh God.
But a respect thing. And it comes from like, if a locker room leader comes into the room, like a legend comes into the room, you know, you're supposed to shake his hand. So what ended up happening over the years is they've taken that as like, you have to shake everybody's hand all the time.
No,
it's awful. I have friends.
You know how much anxiety that causes in some people?
Yeah,
to have to touch another person's hand if you don't want to touch their hand.
It's not even about the touching part. It's just like, oh, do I have to go and approach this person and be like, I hate it. There are
some people that I legitimately get excited to go talk to, but I don't want to touch them. And even if I did want to touch them, I don't know that they want me to touch them, so I'm not going to. It's
with the soft handshake thing. I know they joke around, and it's like if somebody shakes your hand like this, you know they're a safe worker. That's real. If you get a soft handshake from somebody, you know that you're in good hands. It's just a rule.
That's a thing. I thought some of this was made up, and I thought that was one that they made up for the joke. But that's
isn't that the opposite of what most hands shake?
No, like if you go up to somebody and they fucking give your hand the death grip, you know that they're gonna fucking hurt you in the ring because they don't know how to like.
But do they actually go like this?
No. That part.
I thought that was this one.
That's a joke, as they
funny.
say. That's a joke, as they say, to pop the boys.
Yeah.
That sounds like a gay porno as well.
Wrestling's gay porno. Let's move past.
Oh, okay. That's why I'm so horny all the time when I watch it.
You can see all their bulges. You can see all their delightful bulges.
Oh my
He's pointing right
god!
It's so funny. Anyway, there was also, we glossed over the fact that Justice is asked to work twice. He's like, I'm going to squash the guy. And then he has a kind of a side bet with Rocket. He's like, I'm going to get eliminated as fast as possible. Rocket's like, no, you won't.
Grabs his hand. Just, I like that. I thought that was funny too.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah, he just grabs his hand and throws himself out.
They telegraphed that joke a little bit because I was like, oh, obviously that makes perfect sense.
Someone's going to try to get out quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
But the battle royale is kind of fun. The hardcore guy who's like a stereotypical hardcore
Am I
guy.
the only one that calls it a battle royale? Is that not what it's supposed to be called?
It's battle royal.
It's battle royal, but
is there a difference
in everything but wrestling? You are correct.
Yeah, and when we were kids, I think it was still called a battle royale. Like if you think about
the difference between a battle royale and a battle royal,
I don't know.
I think because France didn't help America after 9/11, anything remotely French is just gone.
Yeah, freedom prize.
You can blame 9/11 for that one. I had to get a 9/11 reference in this one.
But I already blamed 9/11 for so many things. I have to add this to the stack. Okay. Well,
but
thanks a lot.
The stereotypical hardcore guy who is basically just incredible.
The guy who cuts himself on
constantly
camera.
Blades. Yeah.
Was that real?
Yes, that's also very real.
When he cut himself and it was bleeding a lot.
No, that was not real. It looked
real.
$10,000 of their budget.
Oh, that makes more sense because the blood seemed a little bit too dark for real blood.
It looked like fake movie blood, but and you can kind of tell the way that his like bandages are and the way his like they had some fake plastic stuff here.
Yeah.
And then he cut it, and then it just started to leak. But that, ironically, once again, there's some ironic tidbits of truth in this movie. The blade job looked great.
Yeah, and also another missed opportunity for a funny joke, which it should have been like squirting out like a fucking like
Emo Phillips in UHF,
or like it should have been like a
Butterfingers.
Tarantino style amount of blood should have been.
Yeah,
I mean there was a lot
black and white.
Yeah, there was a lot of blood coming out, but there was just not enough for it to feel like it felt almost like it could have been too real. It should have been a little bit more cartoonish. It would have made the joke funnier. But I was more like, am I looking at a special effect right now or not? I'm not sure, which is a testament to the quality of the video that I was watching at 480p.
It was,
but
how many views does this have on YouTube? Did you guys check?
I was about to check. I'm going to check it right now.
Yeah.
Kayfabe.
3. It was the 3 of us.
Yeah.
Kayfabe Work Your Gimmick has.
Let's take bets. Hold on before you look. Don't look.
Okay.
I'm gonna say 175,000. That's my guess.
I'm gonna say 250,000.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 9,000.
9,000. Jesus Christ! I can't even find it again. Oh, 112K.
Wow. Price is Right rules. I win.
Yeah.
No, because you said 125.
Wait, so
I had 175,000.
Oh.
Closest without going over.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I went over. Fuck. Steve,
yeah,
I forgot Price is Right.
I went with Dragon Ball Z rules. Just
you should have said $1
for any.
Yeah.
He basically did say $1. 9,000 views.
I said over 9,000. I didn't say 9,000.
Okay, well,
but I didn't say 10,000. All right, so
okay. So anyway, I want to talk about this. There are wrestlers who just think they're so hardcore, but really what they do is they get 4 seconds into a match and they're like,
it was another wrestling trope, like I said. All the characters had a wrestling trope aspect to their character. He was basically like Nick Gage or whatever. I thought.
Exactly,
with the lead immediately
pizza cutter.
Yeah,
but I did find it funny that the commentator says, "I've never seen blood in a battle royal before," because then I started racking my head, and maybe in the Attitude Era when there was the hardcore title, when they used to have those weird battle fights with 20 people would come on and just kill each other.
Yeah,
but in a legit WWF battle royal in the between 1985 and 1994. There was never blood. That's crazy.
Well, because there's probably rules against it, right? That was the
There-
era in which
were
horrible blood
allowed.
diseases were going around,
But-
and they probably made you get tested and stuff before you would bleed.
True.
Everywhere.
No,
No.
not in
No,
wrestling.
in the
But they
AIDS
only-
era,
in-
they were
in-
like, just
in-
bleed everywhere. Who gives a
Yeah,
fuck?
in WWE or F, they were bleeding until basically after the Attitude Era that they kind of banned it. Then it's happened a few times since.
Sorry, I'm not.
But if
I'm not-
anyone did it, I would say it's Ric Flair.
Yeah.
he
Have you
seemed
ever
to
heard of
bleed a
Abdullah
lot.
the Butcher? That dude had hepatitis and used to bleed all
He
over
could
the
fit
place.
quarters in his forehead. He had so many
So many gig
just
marks.
crazy marks. Give us a
Right.
picture of Abdullah the Butcher's forehead, Jason.
Yeah, I think
Let's
that's
do it. It's deserved.
I don't know.
well.
if I
Speak
wanna
amongst
see it.
yourselves. Well, it's not that.
All
bad.
right.
He
Well,
just
what I'm
doesn't-
saying is like there must have been some sort of contingency plan in place, some sort of like screening process for being able to bleed in the ring.
They were
They
all
were not.
on steroids.
They weren't scared of. They
and
weren't scared
having-
of
No, they would
No,
get
they were
three,
sharing
three
needles and stuff,
concussions a
dude.
night. They didn't care.
how many. This is going to sound insensitive, but oh my!
I knew you were one of them. What a freak! That guy had hepatitis and used to still blade.
And
He's
gave it
eating
to
the-
some people.
He's eating the missing skin from his forehead.
I don't even know
That's
what is
It's
that?
his thing was he would eat raw chicken.
A goddamn squid? Oh,
So just this fat guy just shitting his pants the whole time from
He's
the
sweating
salmonella.
from
You have to put his-
salmonella, yeah.
Yeah.
Jacob, do you want to explain what a muffler is to Steve?
A muffler.
Yeah.
Like
You ever hear
from
the
a-
story about Dusty Rhodes' muffler falling out?
I can tell you that there's a lot of cars in my neighborhood that don't use them.
I only know the car.
Okay,
the
so
car-
there's
yeah.
this famous story about Dusty Rhodes' muffler falling out. What it is sometimes you're on the road, you're eating bad food,
I just
and
assume it means you shit yourself.
yeah, so a muffler is like a bunch of like toilet paper and paper towel rolled up and putting your butt in your tights. Yep. And there's this famous story about Dusty Rhodes having a fight, and it fell out into the ring. I'm
So it's like
surprised
a pre-maintenance wipe.
it's like a during wipe. Yeah, maintenance wipe, I guess. Would
But it's
be
a-
pre-maintenance,
I've never heard that story, and I've heard other shit-related wrestling stories. But
like
not that
CM
one.
Punk leaving a shit stain in the middle of the ring.
Yeah,
He shit himself on.
or someone shitting themselves after taking a tombstone. Who was that?
Psycho Sid.
Thank you. Yeah,
WrestleMania 13
Yeah,
or 11. WrestleMania
Yeah.
11.
All right.
There's a Steve Austin story where he shits his trunks and
Yeah, people shit their
Yeah.
pants. The
just
thing
shit
about the WWE is you have to wrestle no matter what.
Put me in tights 300
Put me
nights a
in
year. I'm
tiny
shitting my pants
I'm
once.
gonna shit my pants
I'm
once.
gonna shit my pants.
You're hungover. You're sick.
I know, but we're all like adult.
Hepatitis probably.
You got
You know,
hepatitis.
from-
Combination
from
of all
Abdullah the
three.
You've been eating raw chicken all night.
Yeah, just beer and steroids and
You've been cutting your forehead open.
yeah. Look how low his nipples are.
Yeah, what
Those
a
are flappy.
freak.
I don't mean to body shame, but that guy's dead.
That
so
guy's
he
in the
can-
WWE Hall of Fame with such legends as Donald Trump and Snoop Dogg and Drew Carey. So
Howard Finkel.
and Howard Finkel. So
Whoa,
figure that out.
Finkel?
That sounds like the Brood or Gangrel's entrance music. A
It's
little bit the whispery.
it's obvious, you know, it's the Friday the 13th thing, but I
Yeah.
think that's probably what they were going for with
Yeah,
the Brood
yeah.
theme.
So many
um,
deep cuts for you today.
This is the wrestling episode. This is your favorite wrestling episode, the favorite wrestling episode.
Yeah,
Also, every time we mention deep cuts, we have to show the picture of that guy's forehead.
yeah,
That's
for
true.
sure.
Oh God! Wait,
We use the Undertaker's gong too, which is so fucking apt. Anyway, the father comes back after this display of ruthless aggression, and he's so mad because before the show he was like, I don't like your wrestling, man." That's a joke because you guys said he sounded like he was more
Well,
Jamaican than
Was
joke
that
Irish.
is that he doesn't
Jamaican
sound-
Irish?
he doesn't sound like any accent. It's like someone said, "Can you do an Irish accent?" And he said,
Steve, where are you?
"Okie dokie, yes, I can do an accent like that, man, or something."
Did you forget to come back?
Who, me?
Yeah,
I'm
You're
here.
just talking to Jesus.
you're
No,
a
it's-
disembodied voice right now.
It's me, Stephen Water.
He's probably just getting the muffler ready.
Are you seeing yourself as in this chat right now?
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay, that was okay.
Yeah, the priest. What a stupid, dumb thing that didn't need to be in this movie. This could have shortened the running time by at least 10 minutes because you could have got rid of all the scenes with him. He doesn't have any import or impact on any other sequence in the entire movie. He's just there to let some guy do a shitty Irish accent and give them like a locker room, like,
Yeah,
like let's get out there and win this next half or whatever. Like,
how about this setup and payoff when the Rocket uses the fucking quarters, the roll of quarters, and punches them, and the commentary is like, he can use those to buy us beer later. And then in the next scene, the referee is like, puts down 78 cents in quarters, which doesn't even make sense. And
that's definitely setup and payoff.
It's definitely setup and payoff.
So well written and made.
So well.
I mean, I remember there's another sequence later where it like zooms in on the priest's face in the audience for some reason, but I remember nothing as
he was
to
mad
why.
about Lucky blading. Lucky's like squib, and
and
it
he
just
was like,
because
tomato, potato, or whatever.
This is my potato. This is my thing. Is like, if everything on this show is wholesome, there's even a Christian wrestling character. The priest was just mad that there could potentially be like tits or blood. They don't have any women on the show, so it's just that the one character does blood sometimes, and it is kind of funny.
They have a very gay man who is part of their roster.
But I did think it was a little bit funny when they threw the guy bleeding profusely out of his head, and he hits the kids,
children who
blood is all over their perfectly white shirts.
But like, I think the funniest part about that moment was that the announcers are constantly like, this crowd is going wild. I haven't seen a crowd this wild in so long. And it's like zooming in on them, and they're all just like, like, this fucking sucks. And I was like, I agree. Yeah, this does suck.
Do you know this movie would have been awesome if it was directed and produced by Trey Parker and Matt Stone?
Oh,
imagine this movie was Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
Imagine this movie was made by anybody other than the people that made it.
What if it was made by?
Oh shit!
What if it was made by Hand, grown up Hand?
Oh my god!
You got a good hand guy on the show.
I know he's probably.
Do you think he joked about the time he did a hand job?
Yes, absolutely.
They did a hand job on live TV.
I think Glenn Jacobs could do a good job. I have the same birthday as this guy, so it's great that he's on our show.
Oh, so it's his birthday month as well. This one's for you, buddy.
Yeah, Kane.
Kane. Don't burn any houses down this month,
Isaac
you
Yankum.
crazy son of a bitch.
Fake Diesel.
Isaac Yankum, DDS, actual dentist.
Isaac Yankumoff.
His entrance music was just dentist drum. Kane's gimmick before he was Kane was he was a dentist.
He was a dentist.
Yeah.
And Jerry Lawler, he was Jerry Lawler's dentist.
Jerry Lawler's dentist, yeah.
Did Jerry Lawler ever become Jerry Lawless? And he's like, I've been disbarred, and now I'm gonna kick some ass.
But his son died tragically.
Oh god,
he was the king pretty much. Yeah, his son died in lockup, like not even prison, just like a sheriff's office.
Like in real life?
Yes.
Yeah.
His legitimate son.
Yeah. Wrestling's fucked. Here's something funny. When Marco Payne does his little bits to the women, that's funny, right? When he goes over and he's like, does anybody know where there's a veterinary clinic? Because I got some sick pythons. And then it holds him just doing this for too long. That's fun, right?
It wasn't funny.
Why do you say that?
Because he already did this once earlier, and it was bad the first time, and then this time was equally as bad, if not more bad.
Kind of like, is that the way to the beach or my shoes on my shoes?
I know, but these are not jokes that they created for this movie. These are jokes that existed already in the world.
That's a really good point.
Even
in many years,
and especially in 2007, that's when these jokes were like the most popular. Yeah,
that's actually, I think that might be the biggest problem with this movie, that a lot of the jokes are just like recycled jokes you like recycle with your friends, and that plays a lot into the whole like this movie is just a bunch like some friends sitting around. Right, I bet these weren't even the script wasn't typed.
But I mean, I bet you if we sat here for
pencil,
if we sat here for 15 minutes, we could probably come up with a like point in other direction joke that is better than these pythons are sick. That is not something they came up with. This is not created by this movie. This was stolen from, again, around the campfire. This is one of those jokes that somebody said around the campfire, and they're like, "Oh, we gotta put it in our Kayfabe."
But all the jokes my uncle told me when I was a kid in this movie.
Yeah,
especially the racist ones.
Yeah, they only got rid of 50% of them for this movie.
Yeah.
Not for nothing. I think even though it's a little edgy, Tomahawk Jock, a Frenchman doing an Aboriginal gimmick is a little
doing
bit
it terribly.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit funny.
I do like that at the end
from the wrestling element, because the famous wrestler who was an Indian man, his name of course was Tatanka, which means
Chief J Strongbow is another one.
They're just like Tatanka was like an Italian guy.
No, Tatanka was legitimately indigenous.
Are you sure?
1,000,000%. Google it now. $5.
Okay.
I did just do a voiceover about Tatanka actually.
And what did you know?
They didn't give me any details on his heritage. I just know about the fact that he did a
legitimately indigenous. He's not like an Italian guy like Iron Eyes Cody or whatever, the guy who cried.
He doesn't go back in the dressing room and be like,
"Whoa, Mamma Mia, that was fucking crazy over here."
And yeah.
What's a coming to go? I'm a fucking Aboriginal over here.
Where's my pescetti and meatballs? Come on, bada bing, bada boom, ba. Let's hit the showers, fellas.
Tatanka, WWE, legit or not? Tatanka,
legit or not sounds like a good wrestler name.
I am legit or not, destroyer of worlds.
Well, look at that. A native of North Carolina's Lumbee tribe. I had read years ago that Tatanka was not a legitimate.
I think it's because Tatanka sounds like a Street Fighter character. That's probably why you were confused.
Dun 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 dun.
Oh my god, that's old. He's old there.
Dun, dun. Yeah, this is modern day.
That's Tatanka. Like Dog the Bounty Hunter Tatanka.
Tatanka the Bounty.
I actually, you know what? I love Tatanka. He was one of my favorite wrestlers too when I was a kid.
I know that about you, Jacob. I know that about you.
Him.
I remember loving Tatanka with you. Yeah. Tatanka is a weird case of like kind of like career job, like not jobber, like career. He's kind of like a British bulldog a little bit.
Yeah, like lower mid card has his moments.
Captured the minds of a lot of kids because they're like, wow, look at that Indian go.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
But he was a character that wasn't like, he was like in that same time period, there was like a garbage man, a clown, a dentist. Okay, this guy,
a hockey player.
No, those things aren't cool, you know.
A Brooklyn brawler who's like a homeless guy, I guess.
Brooklyn Brawler ruled, but yeah.
Yeah.
The garbage man also was just
okay,
it's time to take out the trash.
Yeah, my man.
He gets it. There was Adam Bomb, who was the byproduct of the 3 Mile Island nuclear meltdown. His name
is he Adam a mutant?
Kinda, just a big freaky juice man, but he had a green tongue and he wore.
Listen, Adam Bomb is a pretty good name. I like that.
Well, guess what? You're gonna see him.
Oh God.
Does he have the glasses on? He better have the glasses.
He has to.
He needs to have the glasses.
I'm not showing him unless he has the freaky fucking. Yeah, there it is.
Let's do it.
This is so good. We could never do this one on our old show. Remember our old show where we couldn't even do this?
I don't know what so you're much talking about.
This is the first episode of this show.
It's true.
There we go.
Jeez, Jason, why would you play that?
Why does he have a boner?
They'll wear cups, don't they? Is that why?
Goggles and big gloves, like they're going to protect him from ion radiation or whatever.
Modern day. Okay, well, the commentator has a midget fetish. You guys want to talk about that? Can't say midget, little person fetish.
Wow, Jason, you really fucking blew right through that before you thought about it, didn't you?
Yep. Just
it was kind of yeah.
This is the moment in the movie where I realized, they're just gonna like go after stuff, and they're gonna try and chase the joke until they reach a point. And once again, like I've said countless times at this point in the podcast, there is a nugget of something that could be funny here, but they're missing the point, they're missing the joke, and they're not delivering on it. The joke should be in this that the one guy has an actual phobia of little people. That should be the joke. Because
well, plot point, they did explain that Justice's first loss in professional wrestling was to a little person, which seems exploitative, right?
It is.
But they do show him get like in like an ankle lock and a body slam from a little person.
Snapshots. They don't show any.
I got a theory. I'm gonna skip to the theory corner.
Hit it.
Oh my god.
Hit it. You're the
spicy theories. They actually really wanted to have the little people wrestle, but it just wasn't in the budget.
Hey.
They were like, we're gonna get them, and they were like, we're at $49,530, and they want 500.
They want $500.
We can't get them.
Yeah, the little people were like 2,000, and they're like, well,
you
do it
the
for
voice. You don't have to do the voice.
What?
Just do a normal voice for the little person.
Do a normal voice for the little person.
Okay, sorry. $2,000.
$2,000.
There you go. And they couldn't afford them, so they just cut that out of the movie.
But they did have photographs.
Yeah, but they couldn't
one
get two.
Little person.
You can they could afford one in
right.
pictures, two moving, not a chance.
We'll give you $6 if you just take 4 pictures. And he's like, okay. I mean,
Like, no,
okay.
the Willy Wonka.
Also, that was not my little person voice. That's just a voice I do when I'm, excuse me, pardon me.
I'm extremely offended.
Yeah, as a little person, I'm tiny.
Yeah.
I forgot that both of you guys are little people.
I just realized that when I go like this, it looks like Bob Holly's railing me.
Yeah. There's been a couple times where you've moved your arm around and it looks like you're like reaching for a hug from a person.
Oh, Bob. Yeah. Does that look right?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Is that how you rail people? You put your hands up and go, oh yeah.
I'm holding his head and he's really excited. This guy's watching us. People are watching. Thanks,
anyway,
Bob.
Right in the middle of the ring, live sex celebration here on our here on Hey Did You See This One this week, ladies and gentlemen, and people of all everything,
shapes and sizes.
Because this is going better than I thought it would.
Yeah,
dude,
I have to say
this movie sucks.
It does.
Yeah.
I feel it felt very awkward and weird because there was just this long moment of a guy fetishizing little people, and then the second even more awkward part is the guy just being like, I hate little people. Basically, he's like, they creep me out and I don't like them and they shouldn't be in the sport. And it felt like a weird, real criticism, and it shouldn't have. It should have been more comedic. And I know it was meant to be comedic, but it wasn't. And again, I think the way to fix that is to have the actual little people there to have an opinion or a perspective of it. But it's just like, it feels like old man joke stuff, like stuff that like a dad with no connection to anything outside of his own like straight white middle-aged life or whatever.
I'm now realizing there's no, besides the Spanish dude, there's no like people of color in this whole movie.
You're realizing that now?
Well, I'm like,
there's a native guy.
He's French Canadian and Irish.
Yeah.
And Irish and Tomahawk.
There's no like female characters in this movie either. They show up to be like,
they tried.
Woman at bar is very, very important. Doesn't even have a name.
Yeah, woman at bar. Cam. I thought it was funny when they see Cam wrestling himself. So that was kind of a fun little bit because he's just trying to get on the show and he's having a wrestling match with himself. Rocket walks up. Rocket kind of liked it. He's kind of like, you're an idiot. Can you get us a table? You just get us a table. We'll set it up by the washrooms. We'll sell merch off of it. Then we get the thing with Randy and Justice, who should win on the final show. Al returns. This is the problem with the storytelling in this movie. There's like a bit earlier where it's like, Al's missing. Various people are missing. And they just like that. Those guys couldn't show up to set that day, I guess, even though he was, I guess, on
It was because
commentary.
he caught his daughter getting doing it with the rookie or whatever.
Right.
They like vaguely explain it later, but
and it's so weird. Like he says a bunch of weird sort of like jabby. It's almost like he's in the ring kind of thing, right? Like all of his insults are things that he would say in the ring to somebody.
Yeah.
He's like, you shouldn't hang your clothes up if you're not able to put your nose up, or I don't know, whatever he says. He says something stupid.
Very Dr. Phil.
You can't put your clothes up.
Don't put your nose up.
Can't put your nose up.
That's pretty good. That's Jason. That's maybe one of your best impressions I've ever heard on this show.
Well, almost as good as Steven's little person. Fucking guy.
That was a normal sized person saying that.
I'm the only one of the three of us that knows somebody who's been on Dr. Phil. So,
oh God, who was it? You?
No, my dad's wife's sister and her daughter were on an episode of Dr. Phil.
She's like, catch me outside, girl, or whatever.
I think that's I think that, or it might have been like, my mom's too crazy, so I gotta tell her what to do. I can't remember, and I don't care because that one is fun. But that's right, I said it.
Wow, Jason's got connections to fame. We could have Dr. Phil on this show if we tried.
Well,
a lot of people catching strays on this episode. Holy shit.
You don't have a connection to Dr. Phil. No, I'm not good at it.
You lost it a little bit at the end. I did. There. It started well though.
So yeah, Randy and Justice trying to figure out who wins on the final show. Al returns, and Cam wants to do a run-in, whatever, but he's more fucked up on bringing the bell on the table. More gay panic. Watch out for the gay guy. And this is a funny joke, but it's one of those that I was like, I know that joke from like my childhood. Like, he's like, I got one piece of advice for you. Watch out for the gay guy. And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, kiss me and I'll tell you. And I was like, ho, ho, ho. And then Castle walks in naked. So that's kind of a good punchline.
He doesn't walk in. He's just in the background already naked.
Yeah, he's just wrench out waiting.
That is funny.
There's some nuggets of fun in this nightmare of a movie. Yeah. The rookie shows back up. He's got Al's daughter in tow. That's when I think that they have the castle lubing up, which is a bit of gay panic. Talks over his match with Powers. Then this is when the interviewer asks about homoeroticism in wrestling. And I wrote, it goes as well. Yeah, I said, I wrote, it goes about as well as you think you'd expect.
It's also like not funny at all.
Yeah, the funniest part is just Al has an unwavering, like, angry expression because he doesn't know how to like process it, and the rest of them are just like looking at each other, trying not to say the wrong thing.
Except for the gay guy who's like, "It's great,
it's great."
Yeah, again, should have been funnier. Wasn't funny. It's just weird and like. I don't know, man. He's not gay enough for you to be to confirm that he's gay. It's just that he's there, and like he should be either more gay or way less gay. That's the
yeah.
They didn't do the balancing act of like how gay do we make him. It's like they made him like attractive and muscly and greased up so that he like seems like he's the gayer type of wrestler that they're talking about.
Not unlike this man.
Whoa, is that Tomahawk Jacques?
Yeah, it's Tomahawk Jug.
He has a tomahawk, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. And a mohawk.
But yeah, again, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work, man. They needed to really like refine these types of scenes because it does seem like a derivative version of the Seinfeld joke, but like not as funny. The reason that it's funny in Seinfeld is because it's an entire episode of a show that is completely like orbiting that joke.
Yeah. Also, it's like 1998 when like
that's what I'm saying.
People didn't exist yet.
10 years later, and they're doing the same joke and not as well.
In the zeitgeist, I mean, it had to take metrosexuals for gay people to truly be free. I think. Is that true? Would you identify with that?
Yeah.
For the straight guy, gay people would still be in the closet globally.
If it wasn't for straight men trying to dress like gay men, yeah, gay people would still be dying of AIDS right now.
Yeah, exactly. They try to build up the card for the final show. I didn't really take any notes about that, but they said a lot of stuff. That was like a 10-minute scene of them like putting the card together. Justice has to work twice again, which as far as like running bits is stupid. Like it's not funny that he has to work twice. I guess it's funny if you're like a wrestler. Is this movie just supposed
It's
to
only
be
made for wrestlers.
Yeah.
Is this supposed to be just watched by
This
wrestlers?
is the thing, is every time you guys have said like that's pretty funny, I'm like, no, it isn't.
I thought that part was funny. Like Justice has to, he's like, fuck, I gotta wrestle twice.
And then he's like,
guy.
I'm squashing him.
But to me, that feels like a joke that would be in a movie about servers being like, you got to work a double tonight. And they're like, fuck, I don't want to work a double.
Well, there you go.
Like,
but
but that's not funny. That's just annoying.
Waiting is a funnier movie than this by far and away.
Are you telling me that Waiting, starring Ryan Reynolds, is a funnier movie than this?
Fair enough. But my meaning, if you catch my meaning, if you catch what I'm inferring is like, me and Jacob and yourself, we were all in the food service industry. We all relate to those characters on a very personal level. So those jokes, the in-jokes that they make are extra funny. For me, as somebody who's gone to wrestling school and I'm in the wrestling industry, Jacob has read everything about wrestling there is possible. Jacob, I don't know if you know this, but Jacob, I have an encyclopedic knowledge about wrestling. Jacob has an encyclopedic knowledge about encyclopedias. So
holy shit,
he's read every word. He's seen every word that in existence. He's seen them all.
What's in the Q through W section of the encyclopedia?
No idea. We could only afford up until R. So
yeah, that's true.
And yeah, wait, Q's before R. I'm getting tired.
We all do it. We all say R. Jason R. Phillips. The Rookie and Al do a little bit of talk about their match. That was kind of a funny back and forth because they portrayed the Rookie to be like this clueless idiot, and Al to be this like grizzled veteran. I did like that scene because they were just like arguing about the semantics of wrestling. It's like, no, I'll do a clothesline and then you do a back body drop. No, you do the back body drop and then the clothesline. Like that's what wrestlers are like.
Yeah.
Also, they break it down for the layman, which would be me. But also, like I get it. Like I do get it. I understand it's performative, and you have to give each other instructions. It's not all scripted. Like you do this, then I do this, then you do that. It's going to be, like this movie. Here's the beats you need to hit. Please improvise in between. And just like this movie, the scene did not work for me. I was like, no. We get it. You don't need to explain it over the course of 3 minutes. This is one of the things that I started to get really annoyed about near the end of this movie, which is we're getting towards the end, is that there's too much shoe leather when it comes to like, here's what was happening and why.
Right,
and
what was there too much of?
Shoe leather? Oh my god! And it just didn't work for me once again, which, I mean, listen guys, the entire movie didn't work for me, so I don't need to break down every single thing that didn't work, but I get why that can be funny again, but it doesn't explain why they need to spend so much time doing it. They could have done like quick cuts, very quick cuts.
True, but what if these wrestlers showed up?
Oh my god. The MPAA, everyone. The MPAA.
Wow. That's the real name from the WWE.
Well, the Dicks.
Yep. Dicks.
You need to get like an old like 1940s car horn, like
the Rookie comes in dressed like $1 million. He did actually look good in his little tights. Clearly his dick was stuffed with various things. And then like, no, sorry, Rookie, you look great, but you're wearing this gimmick tonight. The Blue Avenger. He has to be the Blue Avenger. I think that was a reference to the
Blue Blazer.
The Blue Blazer a little bit. Tragic, but I guess it's a reference.
See, another thing I don't understand. What is?
Well,
Please
you
explain the blue
see-
blazer.
Do you want to know about the blue blazer, Steve?
Is that when like you shit so hard you shit out the inside of your butt or something?
It is
Kinda.
now when you shit out your butt.
Do you remember?
Owen
Owen
Hart.
Hart?
I do, yeah.
You know what happened to Owen Hart tragically?
Yeah, he fell from the rafters and died. Yeah.
Do you know what
And
he
he-
was dressed as?
The Blue Blazer. That was one of his alter egos.
Oh,
Yeah.
and when he
Yeah.
hit the mat, his whole butt came out of his butt. Is that what
Kind of.
Oh God.
His butt
Well,
came
he-
out his butt,
His-
mortally
he,
wounding him.
he broke the.
I feel bad. I love doing that.
I also liked Owen Hart, and I remember that being like a very big deal.
Yeah.
Like I remember kids coming to school and starting to talk to us about it, because I didn't really watch wrestling at this point, but these kids would start crying and everything, and I'd be like, what? And then like, he died, and I was like, what do you mean he died wrestling? And so I thought, that's when I was like, wait, is wrestling so real that people get suplexed to death?
No.
Jason called me and told me. I remember because you had the internet before me.
Well, me and Jake watched it at my dad's house.
Is that what it was? Yeah, but I remember the call.
This Owen Hart was one of the greatest wrestlers of all time,
So good.
and he died dressed like this.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Did he have the mask on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Because the storyline at the time is like Owen Hart was tag team partners with Jeff Jarrett, and the Blue Blazer was back, and Jeff Jarrett was like, "You're the Blue Blazer." Like, I know that. He was like, "No, I'm not the Blue Blazer." And then, which was in passing, funny gimmick, like funny storyline, right? Tragically, Jeff Jarrett had to wrestle the next match in real life. He had to go out and wrestle next.
His blood was still on the mat.
They still
Yeah.
wrestled?
They
Yeah, they
didn't-
finished
they
the
didn't
show.
stop the show.
You can also still
Did they
watch
know
it.
he was dead? Like,
He was they were trying to resuscitate him for a couple matches backstage, but he was dead. And
They knew he was dead before the show ended.
exactly.
I mean,
And
it's
the show
high
kept
drop.
going, and wrestlers were still coming out, like trying to cut their promos on their next guy. I think there were 4 matches after Owen Hart died, or maybe more. Like wrestling shows back then were like 8 or 9 matches, and it was like second or third on the card. And it's fucked because the commentary is losing it. The commentary doesn't know how to react. The wrestlers cutting their promos don't know how to react. And then they're going and wrestling their matches, and they're coming up to the ring and literally doing stuff like that. And you can still watch this on the WWE network and like Peacock and stuff, where they still have all the pay-per-views. That's the craziest part, that I can't watch the episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where Dee does blackface, but I can watch the pay-per-view that Owen Hart died on. Do those not?
I don't know if those are the same.
Do
Jason.
those not
No.
level to? Okay.
No. One is a piece of historical fact, a thing that happened,
True.
and one
is
somebody
blackface.
doing blackface.
Yeah.
Well, she doesn't really. I think she does actually blackface. So.
Yeah, she does. I know the episode you're talking about.
And this is when we get, speaking of blackface, they don't do blackface in this movie, but we do get the scene where they talk about their past gimmicks. Rocket and Justice used to be a tag team. They tried various things. Mimes, Germans in Lederhausen, punks called Bangers and Mash. That was kind of funny that they were like, I actually learned after that Bangers and Mash are mashed potatoes and sausage. Rappers, and another R word.
It was Arrested Development. That was the name of them as rappers, because they get arrested because they're rappers, because that's what rappers do. They get arrested. And then Arrested Development translated into having a mental deficiency.
They were wearing helmets.
They were wearing helmets and glasses, and their underwear was tucked into their shirts or whatever.
And it would be less.
I'll say the funniest out of all of those alternative titles was the Silent Assassins. They started with it strong, and then everything just went downhill from there. I was like,
like
the Silent Assassins.
The
And
Flatliners.
when he's talking about, who is it, talking to Casanova about what his name means in Spanish? Like, it means like star. What was it?
House Star.
What does that even mean? He's like, I don't speak
Well,
Spanish.
it reminds me of in Barbie when the Casa Macho Nacho House or whatever it's called. That character reminded me of Ken from the movie Barbie a lot. Casa Supernova, because of his name, him not understanding what any of the words in his name.
Yeah, he's like a dummy. He's a dumb blonde man.
Shaped like a Ken doll, you know? No
Yeah.
penis. Just soft and smooth. Anyway, we're getting a double turn from Rocket and Justice. I thought we were going to get a double turn from Rocket and Justice because it much like the show Heels, the heel in the show was a face in real life and vice versa. Spoilers, but they kind of introduced on the first episode. They don't do that. Spoilers again. The Mexican guy and Tomahawk Jock argue. Sid Lucky and the lumberjack guy who came up from the other indie, because they call in some guys from the other indie. They say like, we got all these other guys from the other indie, and it's one guy. And basically Marco Payne comes in and says it's not who wins or loses, it's that we go out and entertain the fans, which is really good. It's a really good thing to say to a locker room of big egos. I've seen it happen where it's like, no, well, I got to win tonight. It's like, no, you got to entertain the fans. And honestly, Marco Payne's pep talk promo was a legit good promo, and one of the shining moments of this movie, because that actor,
he's the only one
like,
that can act.
He's pretty good.
Yeah.
I still stand by Randy the Rocket like being a okay actor. I think he was doing like wrestling acting, you know, like
Yeah.
there's
And
like
Tomahawk,
acting,
you know.
Tom Hanks, you know.
I think that he could be fine as like a dad neighbor in a movie, as like a small bit role, but being the main character of this movie, no, he's not a good actor.
I was with you. I thought he was the director, or at least the writer.
Yeah.
And then when I saw that it was 3 writers who were also the directors, I was like, what is happening?
He's got to be one of these 3. Wait, 2 of them are gone from existence?
Yeah.
What happened to them?
And then we get basically like into the third act, which is just 5 wrestling matches. Tomahawk Jock start the show. He gets 0 reaction. I thought that's a funny bit because I've seen that happen on huge stages and on small stages where a wrestler goes out and doesn't get it. His whole gimmick in this movie was that he's not getting any reaction, no cheers or boos. But the way they present it when he comes out, he's trying to cut this promo, but he's also like, anything? And you could hear a pin drop. And then he fights El Roboto Fantastico, and they have like,
you know what, man? I have to stand by it, man. Tomahawk Jock is the best actor in this movie.
You think so?
The face acting he's doing in this, the reaction to the crowd, it's all good. It's like very Chris Pratt-ish. Like it feels genuinely good, even though
he reminds me of that ginger actor, the Sherm.
Jesus.
From American Pie, not the Sherm. Shermanator.
The Shermanator, yeah.
And he grew up to be like, he's still working. He reminds me of that guy.
I mean, I think you're just thinking of red hair, but in
the face.
What? He handsome.
Looks like him.
Shermanator does not look anything like this guy.
Listen.
All right. If you want to do a side-by-side comparison, I'm down. But I need to tell you right now, I think that the reason that he is still acting today and was in stuff last year is because he's a genuinely good actor. And like the French Canadian accent aside, which is not bad, it's just very cartoonish, is he was able to sit down and like have reactions and like little moments that were good. No one else in the movie has those. He's okay.
Who the fuck is that?
That's Benedict Cumberbatch from Doctor Strange. He's like from a different universe.
It's Tomahawk Jock.
No. Are you just going to show that one? You're not going to show the other guy?
I'm working on it.
Okay.
Keep saying your thought.
Well, now all I can think of him as Doctor Strange being like, all right, Spider-Man, I need you to go into this dimension of mirrors for a bit while I figure out why the hell all your other villains from these other dimensions are coming into our dimension.
Whatever, that movie rules, okay? Don't get it twisted.
I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I'm just saying that what if Shermanator was Doctor Strange? It would be crazy. It'd be so good.
Fair.
Yeah, he in this moment is, you know, like when he's holding the mic and no one's responding and he's like looking around, it feels like a real performance. Whereas I think most of the other actors in the situation would have allowed their wrestlingness to come out, and they would have done something different. It felt like a real moment in a movie that could actually exist in a movie, whereas most of the stuff in this movie does not feel that way. They should have gave Jacques some more screen time, is what I'm saying. Oh yeah, he looks exactly the same as the guy you just showed.
This is a picture of the same person.
It's not. They're different people.
No, man, they're the same.
One of them looks like Benedict Cumberbatch, and the other one looks like...
and one of them looks like Cumberdock Bender Bitch or whatever.
Whoa.
Cumberdock
Bender Bitch? Is that
you try to do the reversal of that one then.
Cumberdock Bender Bitch. I'm here to take all your carrots and sweet peas.
Benedict Cumberbatch. Bundabacked.
Cumberditch.
Cumberditch. Thank you, Jacob. Fuck.
You're welcome.
That's a lot.
Just here getting railed by Bob Holly.
Just railed. Then we get Nova versus Powers. Cass is hilarious in this. And this is where he gets this is where Powers submits because he's just getting humped. And this kind of telegraphs the end of the movie a little bit, because the same thing happens at the very end.
I mean, the best thing would have been that if he showed up later in the credits and had a husband. That would have been like the ultimate sort of like turnaround on the joke that they've been perpetuating the entire time.
Did they already reveal at this point that he's got the hot wife?
Not till like after the last show, isn't it?
Oh, after the last, yeah, okay.
This is my fiance. All right, honey, I'll talk to you later. And then he
yeah.
Justice
so
fights
annoying.
Ninja Assassin. We find out Ninja Assassin is just played by Rocket, which is a thing that happens in wrestling. I saw a guy wrestle 3 times on one show under 3 different gimmicks one time.
Mick Foley?
Well, yes, but that's not at an indie show, but that's a good point. Mick Foley came out 3 times in the same Royal Rumble as Cactus
Royale
Jack.
Rumble.
Royale Rumble.
Don't let the terrorists win.
Don't let the terrorists win. It's not freedom fries. It's French fries. That's if
it's Royale fries. It's Royale fries with cheese.
Yeah, that's if France had won. Justice cuts a promo on Ninja Assassin. Cam runs in for no reason, just to get his shit in, I guess. And
I hate this. I hate all of this.
Yeah, I'm gonna get through it. Let's just get through.
I mean, one of these fights does have my favorite part in the whole movie.
It was funny when Cam is like, I wanted to do a run in, because if you actually there's a rule in wrestling as a fan specifically that you never get in the ring. Like, you just don't do that.
I think that's just a rule in general. In society.
No, true. It's like it would be the same as like me jumping on stage at a fucking play and being like, I'm in the play.
It's me, Hamlet 2, the second Hamlet.
We
Clumberflat.
Better bitch, fumbly butt.
And I'm here to fight Benedict Cumberbatch, the star of this play. And he's like, oh, excuse me.
This weird eyes.
Can you please get off the stage? You're like, come here, Cumberbitch. Just like attack him.
See, that's funnier than this movie. But Cam, who's like a trainee, runs in, and I did think it was funny that Justice comes through the curtain at the end after the match and goes, he doesn't say anything. He's just like, what the hell was that? And he stares at him. And then the silent assassin, what's his name? Fucking the assassin comes through the curtain and he pulls off his mask, reveals Rocket, and he also just stares at him. I thought that was funny.
I was waiting for the punchline though. They just
true.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, what
the staring was the punchline.
Yeah.
Well, the punchline is that he's nervous and can't say what. It's funny, when you started kicking me and then he started kicking me, and then it just, like every other joke in this movie, it just peters out until they have to cut because they're like, we don't have any more footage left.
Imagine if those characters
they were on The Office.
Imagine if those characters were played by Trey Parker, Matt Stone, and Squeak.
Or just pick 3 people from The Office. Like,
yeah,
just like Creed,
Rainn Wilson,
Owen
Wilson,
and
Dwayne The Rock
and
Johnson.
Andy Bernard. Like, 3 of them in that sequence would be funnier.
3 Creeds.
All 3 Creeds, yeah.
All 3 Creeds. So Rookie Blue,
Prison Mike.
Prison Mike,
obviously.
Dementor Mike.
Yeah.
and Fat and Michael Klump.
Date night Mike.
Date
night
Mike.
Mike, Prison Mike, and Michael Scott.
Pleased to meet me.
Michael Scarn.
How do you like your eggs in the morning?
I love the delivery. Okay, we can't talk about The Office.
Okay, yeah.
We're almost done.
Horribly derailed.
Yeah,
We talked longer than this piece of shit movie.
it's true.
I think
Well,
this podcast is better than the movie.
it's kind of the gimmick of the
Probably.
show at this point. I'm also kind of doing it against one specific United Federation member.
Oh my god.
That's right. Shots called. That was not a burp. That was almost puke.
That just sounded like you were like doing a Dementor impression.
That's what I meant to do.
Oh god.
Rookie Blue Avenger versus Legend Al Thompson. It talks about they turned that into a fun
Reginald Bell Johnson. Holy
Yep.
moly.
Legend
Dabba-doo-dab,
Al
dabba.
Thompson. Sounds so much like Reginald Bell Johnson that I rue the day that I didn't think of that.
You will, I will, you will, you. Remember that little kid who couldn't say what he was trying to say?
And then and you have a dream.
Anyway, we can't.
Okay.
We have to stop. Yeah.
Talks about getting caught with Al's daughter, and Al looks pissed. They turn the whole daughter thing into an angle, which was kind of fun at the end. But then
No, it wasn't.
I thought it was kind of funny. It's a very tropey wrestling thing to be like, oh, I'm mad that you're banging my daughter. Anyway, professional.
But he was
wrestling
mad
stuff.
about that in real life.
Yeah. Wrestling gimmicks are people turned up to 11, Steve.
Oh.
Do you know your DM character that you have? That's like a wrestling persona.
Yeah, but I mean, wrestling, the actual events that happen in real world wrestling are far more interesting than anything that happened in this movie. Nothing in this movie is interesting. It's terrible and not fun. Whoa, holy moly over here.
Who is that? What wrestlers is that, Jason?
No, like literally nobody. The guy
They never became anything. Yeah.
they were brought in at that weird, like they were from Ruthless Aggression era.
Yeah.
Around like right before they brought back ECW. Like they hadn't even brought
Can you
back
one more time? I want to take a look.
Steve, stop masturbating.
Just one more.
Ho, 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 ho. Everybody back up, because here comes the body of the episode.
Nice.
Oh,
Who the fuck is that?
Pat. That's Pat.
that's the kid from Jurassic Park.
Oh my god, I thought it was Pat. Remember the movie Pat? Like,
Yeah,
it's Pat?
That's really funny that you said that. That's really because I was thinking that when we were like, I was like, who the fuck does that look like? That's my Pat impression.
Turns out that the person from Jurassic Park is like the most ambiguous looking person I've ever seen in my life as an adult.
It's true. Androgynous, even.
Androgynous is what I meant. Yeah, thanks.
Both work. You're both.
Thanks for making a fool of me.
You're made a fool. How about this fool? Lucky versus the Idaho Assassin in a hardcore match. This part was actually great. I thought, because I like hardcore wrestling, they did a very good job at doing the thing where he's just pulling gimmicks out of a bag. Very McFoley, very Attitude Era.
the potato finisher. Fantastic.
Inoffensive. Both the potato finisher, and they're both just like Crimson Masked. Like there's some nuggets in here.
This is my favorite part of the movie, the hardcore match. I think.
Yeah. It reminded me of watching wrestling with you.
Yeah.
And then I wrote, honestly, the wrestling in this movie is pretty solid. As a wrestling fan, the wrestling parts, spoiler alert,
Yeah.
kind of my Home Alone of it all.
Do you remember when I was talking last week about how the wrestling broke up these sort of monotonous and boring real life sequences with exciting cinematography and choreography?
No.
You don't? Okay, well, I mean, I was asking
trust you,
Jason,
though.
but it seems like he's gone now. Even
It's
though I
fine.
was asking,
I will
William.
answer. I don't know what you're talking about.
I do.
This is the complete opposite of that. This is
No.
a movie.
I thought
just-
about that a lot actually during this. That like
They could have cut out all of this at the end and had it be 120 minutes, which is enough for distribution if they want to put it into theaters and stuff. But they didn't. They left it in, and I'm sure that you guys found it entertaining in some capacity, but I found it annoying and long, and I couldn't watch all of it, so I skipped through a lot of it, and I will apologize that I did not.
No, that's fine. Like, honestly, I get that.
Everything.
That's where my whole theory about this having sort of a, like,
I wasn't done.
Okay, sorry.
I have been to many of your shows, Jason, over the years, and I am completely invested every single time I'm there. I'm encapsulated. Everything about it is wonderful when I'm part of the audience. And I guarantee you
shit announcer.
Yeah. Fuck that guy. No. That's the most exciting part is when Jason comes out. I'm like, yay, it's Jason, my friend. and then like wrestlers came out. I'm like, yay, hot dudes slamming each other on the freaking mats over here. Cool. But I know that if I was watching this in real life, I would probably be far more invested. And I can't say that about the end of this movie. Everything is bad except for one specific moment, which I think we already moved past. You know, when the robot man, you know, like the El Roboto, when he
El Roboto Fantastico,
when he loses power at the end, and then the referee grabs his hand and puts it back up, and he immediately like goes back up.
That robot was good.
That was
a good robot.
I laughed and I was like, "That's funny. That's fucking funny."
Well, we get to the main event and Rocket versus Justice. I do like the use of the Rocket having like the classical music. Justice has some bullshit punk song, probably some like local Ontario punk or Vancouver punk,
probably
music.
Written by this guy.
I forgot you would also have Control, so that actually caught me off guard.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It's like a 6-foot turkey.
Yeah, just to reiterate what our friend of the show, Dirac Attack, said.
It's more like a 6-foot turkey. Yeah,
like a 6-foot turkey. And he pulls the fucking raptor claw and assaults him with it.
It'll slice you here or here, spilling your intestines.
Spilling your intestines.
Oh God.
Then there's that little bit where it's like they don't call him Rocket Randy because it rhymes, and then the commentator's like, it doesn't rhyme. and then
that's funny. That's what
exactly. I said. And he's like, that doesn't make any sense. That's one of my favorite jokes in anything.
No.
I love on It's Always
Sunny
in
anything.
I love on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia when everything is chaos and like somebody just goes, what is happening? I love chaos. Yeah. Thanks, Tim. You're never allowed back for that reference. Just kidding. Come back, please. We need you. Jacob is great.
Jacob, he's coming for you. He's coming for you right now. Uh-oh.
No, Jacob, you're a fantastic guest. I owe you a real movie. I do. Because imagine we were talking about Nacho Libre right now.
Right?
It'd be a different thing.
Wait, have you guys seen Nacho Libre? Both of you?
Nacho Libre.
Oh man, what a good movie that is.
What a great movie. We would have had so much fun talking about it. I had a lot of fun talking about this movie with you guys, though, if I'm being honest. And I usually lie, so.
Right.
Rocket gives up. Oh, yeah. I did kind of like this. Was this so Jacob, you told me that earlier, I hadn't finished watching the movie, and you said there's a big twist at the end. Were you referencing what happens in this match, or were you referencing Casanova's?
No, Jacob watched Twister, the movie Twister, earlier today as well, and he said there's a big twister at the end, and he confused the two movies.
I do like that the naming convention of the Twister movies is doing the Aliens thing, and the sequel coming out this year is called Twisters. I do like that.
Fast and the Furious naming convention.
Beetlejuice.
Classic.
Fast and the Furious is
Faster and Furiouser.
And then Fast and Furious.
Furiosa is that's in that lineage, right? That's Mad Max. Dumb.
Anyway, Jacob, I didn't mean to throw you off by that Twister reference, but go ahead.
Oh, the calling it in the ring. I meant, where I like that part. I thought it was cool that
it was good. So basically what happens is they wrestle around a bit for about 45 minutes, and we get to the point where Rocket was supposed to fight. That's how long it felt.
I mean, there is almost, from the moment that you think the movie's ending to them being like, all right, let's do the last fight. It's just,
I kept checking the time and I was like, how is there 30 minutes left in this movie?
That's why I skipped through, because I was like, I don't need to see them wrestling. I don't give a fuck.
That's fair. I get that. I understand that fully. I was enjoying the wrestling part.
I probably missed a couple of very funny quips from the
You did
announcers.
Not. 100% did not.
Did the guy mention how much he likes little people over and over again? I assume that was going to happen.
No, that's not until the credits part. But Rocket, so this is a very cool thing, I thought, where it's kind of like that bit last week in Iron Claw where Harley Race is like, nah, you got dumped on your head on the floor and you can't get back up. Well, sorry, I win. This is like the opposite of that, where Rocket was supposed to win and retain the title, and that's how this show goes. That's how this company goes out. But instead, he sees, like, they show the crowd losing their mind during this figure 4 moment, and he decides to tap and give it's called Shine. He gives Justice his shine, so Justice can go
like Stephen King.
That's what it is. That's why they say it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, fuck me.
I didn't know that Stephen King was such a huge wrestling fan.
He probably is legitimately. Like, I would peg Stephen King as a wrestling fan.
I would also peg Stephen King. That's actually how Jerry the King Lawler got his name. It's not it's not royal. He just really likes Stephen King.
Wow.
I got the fact.
That's funny. It does seem like something that Stephen King would write, though. Like
a epic wrestler thing, but everything's haunted.
Like someone
New England
almost
version.
He almost made it to the top of the cream of the crop, as they would say in wrestling.
Which is, of course, the name of the book.
Oh, it's called The Cream of the Crop. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It has a Children of the Corn connection. I mean, all his books are connected, right?
It's about a wrestler named The Crop.
The Crop. And he's like,
Boy,
I'm here to collect.
I'm here to cream.
I'm here to cream. Stop, Jason. It's too much.
Okay. Sorry.
Oh my god.
What the fuck?
Is that
what
Jacques?
is this? Is this DMCA free? Don't get
Jacques the Strap?
It's Jock. It's Tomahawk Jock.
Look at his.
Is this not just a gay porno at this point? Actually, no. I'll gay porno it up a little bit harder.
Oh my.
Okay,
goodness.
I'm sorry. Okay. Justice confronts him after the show. Rocket wanted the fans to go home happy. Also, it'll help him get to the show. I wrote big twist. Cass's fiance is a smoke show. That woman was attractive. Tomahawk Jock at the bar later finally cuts a promo on Justice because Justice is bullying him.
Hold on. We need to talk about the fact that just because this man has a wife does not mean that he's not.
You mentioned that already.
No, I said that in the beginning before the show.
That wasn't live. That was the secret pre-show.
Okay,
yeah.
Secret. You can only see it for
the huge
2
fans.
So the whole joke is this guy is gay the whole time. Everyone thinks he's gay. He's talking about people's costumes. He's asking people to oil him. He's humping people's butts.
He's hanging wrench in the locker room the whole time.
During the entire, he's hanging wrench in the locker room the whole time, rubbing it on. He's trying to fix things with it. He's going up and tightening bolts. But at the end of the movie, everybody, still also like the Jerry Seinfeld moment. He's the only one who's like, it's so good to be gay, though. Everybody should be gay. He's not even playing it up that much. He should be in the moment, but he's not. And then at the end, he has like a hot wife that comes in and he says, "Oh, this is my fiance," and she's like
she's super hot though. And like
she's
right?
2007 hot.
She looks like a woman. She looks like a woman to me. I don't know.
I wonder why.
Well, she has breasts and long hair. I guess that's what a woman is to me.
Yeah, but like if a woman with long hair and breasts also has a penis.
Still into it.
Do you want to have this conversation on the podcast, Jason? Because I feel like you're not going to like it.
What do you mean? What does that mean?
I don't know. It just seems like you shouldn't have this conversation with me right now.
Continue.
This week on a very special episode of Hey, Did You See This One?
Yeah. Jason decides that
learns.
he doesn't understand what a woman is and needs to know. A woman is whatever a woman is in the description of your mind, I suppose, Jason. But I mean, to me, it's, somebody who identifies as a woman. Anyway, this lady comes in and she's hot, I guess. And this guy goes up and he says, "Ooh la la, it's my own wife. See you later, sugar cheeks," or whatever. And then he slaps her on the butt and she leaves. And everyone's like, "Chocolat bleu. Oh my goodness gracious me." I think they all say that, but I could be mistaking it for just Tomahawk Jock. And the joke is that, he can't be gay because he has a wife. But it's like, no, even in 2007, guys, we know that like bisexuality exists. You can have a wife and still be gay. Did you know that? Did you guys know that?
I have no personal experience in this matter.
None?
Nope.
Oh my God. Well,
if I cover my face like this, does it look like me and Jacob have the same mustache?
No, but what it does look like is that you're trying to do this.
Like to pick one. What do you think?
We're not there yet.
Oh, okay. Anyway, it's such a bad conclusion to the joke that they've been doing, is what I'm trying to make.
But it is a conclusion to the joke that you would expect based on the way that they've recycled jokes from just
That's
talking
true.
to
The
your
joke would
friends.
be that his wife comes in and she looks like a man, which would be very insensitive and terrible. That would be the bad joke, is that like they got a woman, like a man dressed like a woman to come in. That would be the bad joke. But the movie is from 2007. I think even at that point they would be like, that's too much. Let's just make it an actual woman. I don't know. This is just my theory, but I think that this movie is stupid.
Okay, let's take it home. I don't want to dwell on it too much. They get to the bar after the big show. Tomahawk Jock, Justice is still ragging on him, even though he just won the title. Tomahawk Jock cuts a passionate promo about how, like, fuck you, like, don't treat me like shit. The boys pop. He cuts it for the boys. He gets the respect from the boys. That's what matters, I think, in this situation. And they have one final kayfabe bar brawl. And then we cut to 3 months later for no reason, because fucking who cares?
Well, they wanted the club to be shut down, I guess. Like,
I guess so.
I think they wanted it to be like, now we can talk about things that have happened, as they do at the end of movies.
Exactly. It's like this person went on to be a lawyer. This person went on to suck their own dick to death, kind of thing. Like at the end of
holy shit.
Like at the end of The Lost Boys.
I watched a different Lost Boys than you.
Yeah, I don't know if I
was trying to Stand By Me is what I meant.
Oh, yeah, that's how
Stand By Me giant penis.
The slightly less Lost Boys.
Yeah.
Over the credits, it's just the Rocket talking about what happens to everybody. Tomahawk figured his gimmick out. He goes to California and becomes Mr. Fabulo. He just becomes I'm French, which is what he should have done the whole time, obviously. Rookie and Casa become the Flatliners. That's what I was talking about earlier. I prematurely ejaculated that concept. Todd Powers goes to the Christian Wrestling Alliance. The Hardcore guys went on to start a Idaho wrestling company called GW, which is just gore wrestling. That was dumb. I thought that was stupid. But there is GCW, which I thought might have been a reference to that, but GCW didn't exist yet.
But I mean, also like that is meant to be a joke, right? Like where he's like the GW, and they're like, what does that stand for?
Gore wrestling.
Gore wrestling. And like, like it's just one of those things that it could have been perked up, punched up, and like propped up by a second or
by 1 second of thought
of thought, and like submitting it to somebody else, like your funniest friend, be like, how do I make this joke funnier? And
don't make the movie.
Oh God, I don't think that
if you don't make it.
Yeah, it's best if you don't do this.
Yeah, you should stop now.
Then 3 assholes are going to talk about it in the future and be sad. Gonna ruin 3 people's day.
Wait till they hear that we're the 3 directors of this movie.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Ripping on our own project.
That's the heel turn at the end.
Premature ejaculated concepts with the title of my doctoral thesis. So Space Cadet Tim. That's funny. See, that should be a joke in this movie. Doesn't really make any sense as it pertains to the movie, but it's funnier than this movie is. The commentator, of course, he goes and he makes like little people wrestling company. The robot makes an exercise tape. That was a zinger.
I wondered what that would be like. Like, would he just be doing robot moves the whole time? And I assume that would be good for your body if you can like stiffen yourself and hold it for a bit.
Well, the pop and lock is a very famous dance move, which in dancing, of course, is good for your body. So
I don't know how to do it, but you do stuff like that.
Yeah,
I did it better than I thought I could.
Whoa. Justice gets a pirate gimmick at the show, so he's
pirate gimmick. Come on.
No.
What?
No.
He could have had so many other gimmicks. What about Dracula? Has anyone ever done Dracula? I guess Undertaker.
Several times.
Like Dracula.
Pretty much.
Several times.
Paul Burchill. That was a reference to the wrestler Paul Burchill, who was a very good wrestler, and they packaged him with two very specific gimmicks in his career in WWE. Pirate, where he literally swung down on a rope, and then shortly after that,
That's pretty cool.
Incest.
Errol Flint. Incest?
Yeah, they gave him a gimmick where he came up with his real life like wife, and they were brother and sister.
There's been more incest storylines in wrestling than you would ever imagine.
But because Vince McMahon, I don't know if you've seen the recent headlines. Fucked up guy, pretty fucked guy. So we don't need to. I talked about that.
And it's just like, so I've got a story for you.
Yes,
he's like a bobblehead man, right? Like,
yeah,
this is how he talks. I guess is that how he moves?
What if you and your sister are gonna fuck in the ring in front of all these fucking 13-year-old kids?
Like you're joking, but that's what happened. I'm surprised he was like, "What if this week you eat shit?" Like I'm surprised he did not ever.
What do you mean, like a bunch of chocolate bars melted down?
No,
human species.
A whole bunch of it right here in a box, right next to my desk.
Anyway,
is that how he sounds? I don't know what Vince McMahon sounds like.
Jason nailed it. Yeah, it's bang on.
Damn it!
Almost as good as your little person.
It was me, Austin.
There's too much horse shit in my office. God damn it!
Exactly.
All right.
He was tortured as a child. So they're having so the thing that I hate about this movie the most is after he explains where all these people went after this company, it's like, also I'm getting the TCI CWF back together, and this time is going to be different. So no lessons were learned. The company just comes back, and that's pretty much it for this thing. Then the credits keep rolling over all of this, and then the movie just stopped. And
that was the best part, when I didn't have to watch it anymore.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think,
but you did. You had to watch it through the whole credits,
and then you had to listen to me tell you it.
And then
again.
there was like another 3 minutes after the credits of them following him into a dress store.
Oh yeah, this
watch
thing.
Him put on his unitard or whatever.
I don't think in the whole movie they alluded to him wanting to be a dancer. They literally just did this bit to be like, "There's nothing wrong with a man wearing women's leotard."
Well, because earlier in the movie, someone asked him where he gets his gimmick.
The gay guy asks him.
Yeah, and he's like, I don't want to tell. And then turns out it was a dress store.
Yeah. Hilarious.
Where they sell
and then he
leotards.
yells kayfabe at the camera, being like, "Get out of here! This is kayfabe out! Get out!"
And what's interesting with this movie too is it's kind of like The Ring, where we're all gonna die in 7 days for have watched it. So.
Yeah. I mean, I
wish I died before I watched it.
It's like, I wish I died while I was watching it so that it would end.
Don't you know the rules of The Ring? You gotta. You watch
I didn't
it,
know. I mean, we learned a lot of the rules of The Ring by watching.
The horse
this
falls
movie,
down a well. A woman squirts out of a screen.
Yeah, and like
sometimes it gets stuck and you have to go to the ER.
Yeah. And cash is when you cut your head open, and like scrimp is when you pretend to break your ankle, and jiggles is when you bring in a buddy from the background or whatever. Those are all Ring rules, right?
Tim's a fucking genius. Can we all just agree?
Wrestling Ring. Yeah.
At any rate, Why don't we talk about our Home Alone of it all? I think mine's pretty good.
God.
I'll explain it to you,
You had
Jacob,
to
if you
pick
forget.
one. What do you think the Home Alone of it all?
the Home Alone of it all?
Can someone
There
please
isn't
tell
one.
me when the Home Alone?
I really gotta
There
know.
is
When
not.
is the Home Alone of it all?
What is the Home Alone of it all? Now that's
That's
Home
the
Alone
Home Alone of it all. Jacob, the Home Alone of it all is
When they
of
say the
course-
name of the thing.
No, that we already did that.
Well, fuck.
The Home Alone of it all. You're just getting banged out by Bob Holly there. He's just fucking giving it to you 100%. The Home Alone of it all is the concept that in the movie Home Alone, you're waiting for Kevin McAllister to booby trap the home. That's pretty much what you're there to see. Steve has also posited that it's like the trailer moments. We've also done some exquisite research on the subject. Might be just the third act, but we've sort of gone above and beyond that at this point. And it's sort of like the draw of the movie. Okay. So of course the guest goes first. So what's your Home Alone of it all?
It's so poorly done. It's just a bunch of things that happen. I mean, maybe when they have that final show, I don't know.
Okay. That's interesting.
Maybe.
That's actually that's a pretty good. I assume the trailer's like it all comes down to this kind of a gimmick, but I didn't watch
I didn't watch the trailer, but I assume it's just a bunch of the best clips. Although they're such terrible directors, it's probably nothing.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
just a still image of mashed potatoes for a
Yeah.
few minutes.
yeah. It's Casanova's uncensored cock.
There we go. There it is.
I would have rather watched that.
Yeah, same, honestly.
Steve, what's
there
your-
isn't one. There is no
Yeah.
There is no Home Alone of it all in this movie. For me, it would be within the first 5 to 10 minutes where I realized what I was dealing with. And I thought, hopefully, I would get through enough of this movie where I would become invested in at least something. And I wasn't at all. I waited and waited and waited, and I couldn't find it. I couldn't find a moment to be like, now this is the Home Alone of it all. I was like, when is it happening? There's nothing here.
That's so insane because professional wrestling is about investment. You know, my Home Alone of it all is the mockumentary element of it. That's why I wanted to watch this in the first place. But like, this could have just, never really felt like a Spinal Tap. Obviously Spinal Tap is great, but it never really hit that height of a great like mockumentary. It just felt like this was just a movie, you know. So that's my Home Alone of it all. We can sort of just
I don't know what you mean by that. It didn't feel like a movie. It felt like
it felt more like a movie than it did a mockumentary.
Okay.
Like a poorly made movie, obviously.
Oh, I see. All right.
But it felt more like they didn't have to have the conceit of like, this is like a mockumentary, because most of it just felt like they were filming it. Like they knew how to film a movie more.
It felt
than they
more
did.
like they turned the camera on when they were like, oh, this will be funny.
There wasn't
like
enough like talking heads, you know. Like I think
there wasn't. Yeah, there was enough talking
more of
heads.
that.
There wasn't enough of that. Those like shots from like around a corner of like two people talking about something they're not supposed to be privy to. You know, it just felt like a shitty movie. It kind of felt like the second Fubar, but the second Fubar is even like it's fine.
The directors of this movie should have watched The Office more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
here's a question for you, Steve. Tim
Yeah.
asks, would you put this movie above or below Fourth Kind? Obviously below.
Yeah, below.
Fourth Kind.
I
was
didn't
at
even
least-
hate Fourth Kind. I know.
Right?
I just watched it. It's fine.
It's our least watched episode, but it's like
At least the Fourth Kind
not the
feels
least
like
watched
a
movie. This is the
produced
least
movie
watched movie. Sorry,
that
Steve.
has something involved with it.
Yeah.
Whereas this is not a movie. It's not. It's like a movie you would make in high school, but
Yes.
it's all
If you're fucking stupid.
yeah, but yeah, exactly. What I mean to say is that these adult men who made this movie, have the mentality of high schoolers. That's what I'm trying to say. Which, you know, sometimes can work out, but it really didn't for this. It did not at all. It makes me feel kind of sad a little bit in my heart because somehow this cost $50,000 to make this thing. I think that I could do better with the $50,000. I'm just saying, but I mean, I'm sure we all think that. But at the end of the day,
well, with that, let's do our final thoughts. There's no MPAA game this week. Let's do our final thoughts and get the fuck out of here after I do 17 minutes of plugs. This is final thoughts.
It's time for our final thoughts.
Just like the beginning of the show, the guest always goes first here. So, Jacob, give us your final thoughts. And if you have a rating, whether it be out of 10 or to 5, or if you have a fun rating you'd like to give it, please do.
I do.
Lambast this.
My final thoughts are, earlier in the episode, Jason said he had no regrets in life. I have a regret in life. It's becoming friends with you in grade primary. Because then I had to watch this dumb fucking movie. -5 stars.
all right.
You got to give him the old applause and Undertaker dong for that, because that's a wrestler reference. -5 stars is a.
Thank you. I thought you would appreciate it.
I did. I love it. Okay, Steve, what are your final thoughts for the film with the Kayfabe, live the gimmick, fucking a real movie about idiots?
This movie's bad. I would recommend that you never watch it willingly, but if you do have to at some point in your life talk about wrestling movies on a podcast, it is good to have something like this for reference, because it makes things that you are going to inevitably watch within that podcast seem way better. I don't like anything about this movie except for the guy doing the robot and then being told he's the winner and doing that. That's actually the only thing I like for through the entire movie. And maybe the guy being naked. That's pretty okay too. If I had to give this movie a rating, I would rate it as a movie you would find underneath 10 other straight to DVD movies starring Bruce Willis in a wet box on the sidewalk.
It's like a stack of gay pornos.
Underneath, yeah, stacks of gay pornos as well. Yeah.
Am I doing the face? That's
your face. Oh, no.
Oh. Okay. Most Canadian movie ever. That's real. It was good for what it was, is what I wrote then. Now, maybe I don't agree with that. A YouTube fan-made movie about pro wrestling. I think it accomplished that goal a little bit as a wrestling fan. It kind of feels like they wanted to make a wrestling show with a more complex story, and it turned into a mockumentary. But like, how did the box get so wet?
Obviously,
it's not raining.
The crop's cream.
It feels a lot like Fubar with less production value and a bit like Trailer Park Boys, but like worse than all of that. I give it a really solid 2 out of 5. I think that's a little bit too much after
That's
talking
generous.
about it.
That's
It's very generous.
7 stars, too generous.
I know that's low, but it's objectively bad, and that said, I enjoyed it because I did enjoy the parts that I enjoyed. The parts that I hated, god damn it, stop. I give this movie a gimmicked kayfabe jig job rat body slam.
All right, very good, very good.
So now what I have to do, thank you, is I'm gonna Jacob, do you have anything you need to plug or want?
Yeah, actually, I want to talk about this.
Okay.
Last time I was here, I had nothing to plug, and I worked really hard to, I wanted kind of a sponsor, so I just wanted to kind of announce here. This is the first time a sponsorship partnership I have with Raytheon. I want to talk about the new Stormbreaker smart weapon. If you need to launch a knife missile at someone and it's really cloudy, check out the Raytheon Stormbreaker smart weapon. Thank you.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Raytheon.
Okay. Well, I'm confused. I assume that's some sort of Canadian weapon.
It's Raytheon.
Raytheon Stormbreaker smart weapon.
Jason, if you don't know what he's talking about, you don't deserve to be the host of this podcast.
You're also the host.
Raytheon. They're known for their knife missiles, Stormbreakers.
400
I just needed a really good partnership that aligned with my values, and Raytheon hit that for me. So
it seems like that's very like military forward. Like
the money's good.
Okay. Well, Jacob, thank you for being on our show tonight. I have to run our plugs now. Thank you for plugging the military industrial complex.
Raytheon.
I love that about you. I hope that they pay you some money for that. Feels very Gordon McDonald of you to say something so controversial. It
did feel like a Norm McDonald joke at the same time, though. So I kind of appreciated it.
A lot of McDonald's.
Yeah. I'd like to plug our show. You can find us. We are a proud member of the United Federation of Podcasts. You can find us on all social media across the entire internet at Hey, Did You See This One? Other members of the United Federation of Podcasts include Hold Up, a movie podcast where they cover 3 movies each week in like a
one day I'll be on it.
In like a fraction of the time we talk about one movie. They talk about 3 movies in 2 hours, and we talk about one movie in 7 hours. I think we're on right now. There's also Iman on Track, a music podcast. It's a musical podcast about, I think they run down an album, which is good. I'd like to be on it. I'd like to be part of something someday. We have Graphic Histories. It's a comic book podcast about graphic novels and the like. There's also Trivial Debates. Trivial Debates is a debate game show podcast. One person is the judge. 3 people debate over various topics for one subject. There's X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. X-Men is back. X-Men 97. Very good. They're covering that now. It's all come down to this. Additionally, the Super Mater Brothers podcast. Right now they're covering Survivor. I'm going to be on that show in 2 weeks.
Ooh.
I'm going to be on that. I know a lot about Survivor. They're talking about it. There's also Live Long and Podcast, a Star Trek podcast. They talk about Star Trek each and every week right here on the United Federation of Podcasts. And I suppose with that, is there anything we forgot to mention? Because I always forgot to mention something. Nope. So what you're going to do, Steve, is you're going to play the end song. Thanks for watching. And then the United Federation of Podcasts, and we're going to end the show. Jacob, thank you so much for being on. Can we get one last applause for Jacob, my oldest and dearest friend?
You shouldn't have said that I had to do other stuff first. But okay.
Do you want me to do it? Or were you like lined up? Thank you, Jacob, for being on. You're welcome back. I'm going to have you back on. I'm going to have you back on for an actual movie real soon. So look out for that. Thank you, everybody. Episode 131.
Bye.
Well, no MPAA this week because this movie was not rated by the MPAA. But thank you, Durag.
It's a movie that was condemned to hell. Down to hell.
Down to hell, bitch.
Yeah. Anybody got anything funny to say? I don't know. This movie was racist, homophobic. It was what is the word against little people? Short phobic?
Little people phobic, midget phobic.
Oh my God, Jason!
Are we
you
still
can't-
on the thing?
Yeah.
We are, but
I'm not gonna
why
say
do you have
what I
something
wanted to say.
really bad to say?
Never.
I mean, Jason just said midget phobic. I don't.
I
think
just
that
wanted to
could
plug
get worse.
Raytheon again.
Oh, I see.
I think that's
High-quality
that
knife
then.
missiles.
Steve, think of something funny, quick.
Holy shit! It's a crazy world we're living in, isn't it?
Come dumpster.
Yeah.
Not